Hey, everybody can see. We'll give it a second for it to kick in anyway. I really got to change out this chair. Don't tell my wife. She wants me to get rid of a
Live
bunch.
on
I've got
stream, by
a
the way.
stack of chairs over there she wants me to get rid of, and I'm really contemplating replacing this one because it's just too hard on my back. I don't know. I got to figure that out. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out and joining us. We're back again with Gamedev Show on Sunday morning. We're going to talk about video games and resumes today. We're going to talk about some of the resumes that were submitted, go over them, give our feedback, some advice that we think will help them be better and make it easier to get jobs for the people that are interested, or just feedback for the people who just submitted it because they were kind of curious. Not everybody in there is necessarily looking for a job, but lots of people submitted them. So we'll go through as many of them as we can, give as much good, useful feedback, and then we'll take questions in chat, say hello to everybody, and give away a couple things. We got a writer license to give away. There's a link down below. It's the same one as last week. So if you entered last week, you're already good to go. Don't need to enter again. But if you didn't, then make sure that you enter now, and we'll give it away throughout the show. We'll run through the auto battler that I built, and then I think tomorrow I'm going to do the refactoring live, where we'll go through and make that faster. Now that we're going to have a ton of contestants, so I think it's going to be at like 600 or 700 by the end of the show, hopefully, in that sheet. So we'll see how it goes. Though. Anyway, thanks for coming out, guys. Welcome everybody. Please hit the like, subscribe button, and go share the stream wherever. And how's everybody doing? How's you guys' week's been?
Fantastic. How was yours?
Busy. Any big Terraria updates?
I hope not. I am working on something hotfix related, really, but like it's nice working with other companies. Valve is being very helpful right now on cloud stuff.
How about you, Dave?
Put out a new tutorial this week.
Oh, what for?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. It was about how to auto create installers from your Unity builds. So you press one button in Unity and it will do your build for you, and it will create an installer that you can then distribute to whoever you want using a free utility called the Inno Setup Compiler. So somebody did ask me about it, so I decided to build it up. And it's out there on the channel to look at and play with.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll have to link that in the chat in the description. Send me the link. I want to put that up right away so everybody watching can go check that out. That's cool. Something that I think a lot of people forget about. Everybody sends over a zip. Like, here's the game, unzip it and run it.
I actually watched that.
It's a nightmare.
I actually watched that, and it was like perfect. I love seeing you make editor scripts.
Yeah, everybody does. Everybody absolutely. I mean, I used to be a tools programmer. Maybe I should just do stuff on tools programming.
Just make a tools programming channel. Just editor utilities and tools. Heavily focused for the first month. Till you get your first 1 million subscribers.
Oh, I wish. There you go. I've sent you a link. Yeah, it's good. I mean, we used to do this at Sony all the time, have installers for stuff for all the tools. And used to have automated options that would put them out, that would then run them silently on the person's computer. And also, a lot of times people will ask for builds across my teams and all the rest, and I'll just say, okay, right, this is an auto system. It just builds it up. So even a designer can go, right, I need an installer to play with the QA guys, and they'll just press a button and they get that installer. They don't have to bother anybody. And it increments the build number and also does some registry setting stuff. So if you're interested in how you can change registry or read the registry from Windows in Unity, it's in there as well. Very basic. I don't go into it too much, but if everybody's interested in that, I can go into that further because I have other tools that work with that.
So it looks like people in chat think a tools channel would be awesome. So I agree. What about you, Andrew? Is the Black Friday sale still going on, or are we almost over with those?
Black Friday sale is ending, but now it looks like the New Year sale is about to start in a week.
Oh, awesome.
No, Black Friday sale is over. I've been focused, so I updated my game modules bundle, the one tools package I have, to a new version that I've been working on, and now I've been implementing that in Legend of the Stones, redoing some of the parts that use some of components, just updating them, and in that process, fixing some bugs, finding some new bugs and stuff, which is great to find the bugs, because I'm sure there are more bugs, but they're all the small bugs, right? They're the ones that you don't find until you do this one very specific thing, and then you're like, wait, why didn't that work? That should have done something, and it didn't. That's weird. Oh, in this one situation, I there's a chance that it won't work if you do it like this. So, been excited to find those bugs because it means it's getting better. And some people on the Discord have been talking about how they're using it, which is nice to see too. Because I don't always get the feedback. I don't make that many sales of my stuff, so I don't always get feedback about how people are using my stuff. So whenever I do hear how people are using my stuff, it gets me very excited.
Nice. And you just, for everybody who doesn't already know what it is, just tell everybody what that kit is that you're talking about. Because I mean, a lot of people buy your art stuff all the time, the Infinity PBR art stuff.
Yeah.
So the thing you're talking about, people don't buy as much. This is a code utility that's actually really cool that people probably don't know exists.
Yeah, it's called the Game Modules Bundle. I'll send you a link. But it's basically it's intended to be a collection of tools that help you create, manage, and utilize data. So stat data, item data, extrapolate item to be really anything you want. It could be characters, it could be magic spells. I use items as magic spells, and then adding attributes and all these other things, loot boxes. An inventory system that's much more opinionated to be that very specific thing, but of course the items can work with any inventory system. The idea is that you can more easily create the data and then manage it and then change it later and also add to it without having to go back and rewrite all your scripts. And then things kind of just work magically behind the scenes whenever possible.
So it just kind of gives everybody a bunch of game systems, mostly focused kind of around like an RPG.
I mean, that's what I'm using it for, but really it's so agnostic. One of the big challenges is actually that it's so flexible, and it's intended to be so flexible that it could be used in any situation and for any game. And the magic happens once it clicks. You realize, oh, this can be used in all sorts of different things that have nothing to do with the original intent. And that's where it gets very challenging, though, because there are so many things you can do with it that it's hard to say what you can do with it. You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of like RPG Builder out there, these great tools that are very opinionated and say, hey, if you want this game, get this tool set and you can make this game. But what if you want some of that game, but a whole lot of not that game? It gets very challenging then, because now you're going to have to recode their project for your own stuff, which is, not something I wanted to do, which is why I started this package instead.
Well, that makes
sense. Of course, I am using it for my own game. So everything I do for my game, if I can put it in here, I will.
That's awesome. Yeah, everybody check that out. I'll make sure to link that as well. Do I already have the link for it? Yeah, no, not yet. As soon as you send me that link, I'm going to drop that in there too. Everybody can go check it out. So today we're going to talk about resumes, just go over a bunch of different game developer resumes and give some feedback on ways that we think they could be better, the best parts of them, and whatever other stuff that we can provide to kind of make it so that the resumes can be improved or just, I guess, improved. But first, I wanted to just double check. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about, share, or anything else before we dive into the first one? We had quite a few submissions.
Just a small mention, but talking about the stats and the item system from Andrew is very inspiring to talk about item tags in general, because it's a whole rabbit hole that's really fun.
Yeah.
So maybe for some time later.
Yeah, that
also
would
the
definitely
idea
be a
of
fun discussion.
keep it abstracting. This could be used for this. This could be used for this. Abstract.
Yeah. Dave's
and then there's the
tutorials
serialization of it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So you ready to jump on to the first one?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I would say, I as a preface to any of my comments, I've only had to write one real resume in my life to get a job. I've been self-employed for 10 years before my current job, so I had to write a resume to get this job, and that's it. So I'm not good at writing resumes, so any feedback I give, take it with a grain of salt. Just heads up there.
That's fair. And what about you, Dave? You've looked at quite a few, right? We should just quickly talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the industry for about 20 odd years, show my age a little bit here. I used to build some of the teams at Sony. I was a technical producer there. Then I went on to own my own indie games company and help other people build indie games companies. And then from there, I was in enterprise and I built many teams for many companies there. So yeah, I've done hundreds of interviews, seen hundreds of people. And looked through so many resumes. I've seen them all. But as Andrew says, I mean, everything anybody says here is an opinion. Different people, different hiring managers have different styles. So it's not guaranteed that what we say will give you a job or help you get one, but hopefully it will push you down the line and get you closer to that job you want.
That's the goal. What's up, Yori? You got any thoughts you want to share before we get going?
I don't have a lot of experience with either reviewing nor writing resumes because I also got my job on the first try, and I've been working with Relogic since then for the past almost 8 years. I do go through a lot of resumes in attempt to figure out what's the most ideal one, and I have a lot of thoughts with intent about the entire concept. So hopefully my advice will be helpful. That said, it's only an opinion, as David said, and please take it with like 5 grains of salt.
Yeah, and I've also, of course, just looked at tons of resumes and edited and modified my own resume more times than I can remember. I mean, I used to have a folder full of resumes, one for each company that I was applying to. And then when I'd apply to a new one, I'd be like, this is very similar to that company. Let's use that as the template and then start from there. So, and tons of them, and then also just looked at and hired off of tons of them. And Turkey Jerky asked the question, do any of you make final decisions on hiring game devs? In the past, I have. Right now, not so much because it's not something I need to do, but definitely have in the past. What about, I know you have, Dave.
No, plenty of times, yeah.
Yeah. And I assume Yori?
Yeah, so I do get the privilege of saying the final yes, no when it comes to hiring programmers, at least in Relogic.
I only do it for my own stuff.
It's going to be for programmers only, right? Like all of our experience is primarily in the programmer side. So our art and design advice will probably be not as amazing as the programmer one.
I hire all of them.
That's true. Dave hired.
Yeah, so I do artists, designers, producers, marketing, business. Yeah.
Very fair point. All right, so we'll start, I guess, just by pulling up the first one from an anonymous developer, and I'm going to try to anonymize these as best as possible. Although I assume that everybody who wanted their stuff super anonymous just left it anonymous. I also don't assume that anybody here that submitted it is doing it because they're out looking for a job. I just assume they're curious about the process and improving their resumes.
I'd like to just add that we've looked through the resumes and some of them did not remove information as we asked. So if it stayed, we're going to try and anonymize it. But if something slips, we're sorry.
Yeah, but even if it does, like, I wouldn't worry about it too much, everybody. Like I said, none of these are people that are like actually applying for jobs. This is just looking through the resumes and trying to get some feedback and advice. All right, so let's pop up the first one from an anonymous developer in Brazil. And I'm going to try this up. Let's see. Get another view. There we go. That's a better view. That shows much better. We're bigger
and now game dev show.
Oh, that is perfect. Here. There we go. I'll pop it over my my screen there. That looks better. All right. So this is the first one that popped up. There's not a lot of info. There are a couple links to website, a LinkedIn, and a GitHub page. And then there's the list of skills over here in the profile and a little bit of employment history. I don't know if I want to dive into this first or I want to start with Andrew. Andrew, you see this one? What's your first thought on this?
I do. Let's see. I was actually looking at the wrong one. The one that had the missed one. So just bringing it up.
Oh, okay. So this is the anonymous one. It's got
I
a.
went.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's sparse in that there's only one employment history, but at the same time, I guess the big question is what happened between 2015 and 2020. That's my question.
Oh, okay. I see that. Interesting. Okay. What about you guys? Your eye, David?
For me, it
Yeah.
would be cheating because I went through it with a tight combo. So, Dave, go first, please.
Okay, so yeah, the good thing is the guy's personal website here, guy or girl, their personal website is full of portfolio pieces that I can look at, and some of them even have links in them. Each thing in their portfolio and in their resume here, they talk about what they did at the job. You know, they helped the standardization of code development following industry practices. They worked on optimizing code. When I read something, and also when I'm interviewing people, I delve into what you did in that particular project. It's always a warning sign to me when somebody turns up and goes, unless they were they were the manager. If they were a member of the team, they go, "Our team did this. Our team did this. Our team did this." And I always will turn around to them and say, "Okay, that's great. What did you do? How did you improve that job? How did you improve that code? How did you make that art asset? What did you use? Where did you get it from?" Da, 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 da. So it's good to see somebody turning around and saying that they did this in this particular company, because it also gives me some talking points when I actually talk to them. Built 10 hyper casual games, which they actually link to, and they've got pictures of that I can look at. Yeah, it's not bad. Skills, yeah, I mean, I see a lot of these coming in. It's good that you don't put the ridiculous sliders on there that I see in a lot of them that say like 8 to 10 or 9 to whatever. And it's like, why have you got what does this slider mean? Or 95%? Like, throw that
We're
away.
gonna see a few of those later.
Yeah, so we'll get into that there. But yeah, I want to see some skills in there. Obviously, when you've got the job advert that you're looking at, make sure that you're looking at that, pulling keywords out, etc. Mobile, yeah, I mean, you put mobile games development in there, but that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. And then I know your eye has got a lot.
Yeah.
Do you want to just dive into the high level things first?
I wouldn't exactly know what to call high level here, but I guess let's just go for it. As David said, the first link looks absolutely great. The first thing I want to see is someone who actually manages like a site that shows everything they've done with like a certain level of confidence, and you can see everything he worked on, and he actually mentions everything, as David said.
That's the personal website, right? I wish it was if
Yeah.
this wasn't an anonymized one, I would click through and show it, because it's actually a really good example of a portfolio. We'll see a couple more of those though that I think were not anonymized later.
Yeah.
I feel
So
more comfortable sharing their stuff.
another good thing is the GitHub link actually links to the other things for that person and also their social media, which is an interesting find. And on the LinkedIn, I do have a small garage. It's really small, but half of the page is in English and the other is in Brazilian. And this resume comes from Brazil, which is fine. Brazil has a game development scene, so works. But who are you actually catering with that link to? Because I cannot read your about. It's in Brazilian. And this entire resume is in English. So a bit disappointing. But again, it's all coming from good intent. I'm just saying, when you're giving someone a resume, you're saying, pick me. I have a lot of things that you'll want to see and read about, and I want you to feel good about like hiring me after seeing it. So when you give them something they can't understand, can't comprehend, or can't work with, it's making things a bit harder to smile. Unless it's really pretty. So the personal website does a lot of wonders for that. 1 second. So another good thing about the GitHub link is that you can see he has active commits. So it's nice to see like good activity from within the year. It's something that I don't see too often. People would like. I'm not saying you should have public projects, but if you are linking your GitHub, it should have something that people can see, like an empty GitHub page with no activity. It's like, why are you giving me this? So it's good. And let's see. So there is one grudge I have with the page itself, the resume. He repeats a sentence here twice in his employment history and profile, which is about the from code architecture through systems development to publishing on. And it's like, do you really want people to hone in on that twice? It's copy pasted essentially. So don't repeat yourself applies in resumes as well. You're trying to save someone time and make sure it's appealing, and they are reading what you're writing because they are responsible for the company's future by hiring you. They're not going to miss the sentence. Assume as much.
Do you in that whole thing about trying to highlight the bits? Is it better to bullet point it or paragraph it? Because really, this is just a list of bullet points in paragraph form. It reads like to me.
You are correct that there is some benefit in bullet pointing things, but someone is going to try and read through your list of things once, and if you give them bullet points, they might try and like gloss over it. This bullet point talks about this bullet point talks about that. There is benefit to making a paragraph because then someone reads everything there. So if it's important to you and you're not just trying to say I worked in Unity, then you should probably make a paragraph and list out like things with more detail. As David said, the mobile skill was really nothing to me. It censored like it registered like absolutely nothing, because what is mobile? Did you work on touch inputs? Some of it is simulated for you in like Unity. You don't even have to deal with that. Or did you make anything specific for platform calls? Was that like, what is the skill? What did you actually do there? Is something I was concerned with.
What would you prefer to see there? Because like for me in the skills, I want to see things like the engine that they're using, maybe the deployment platforms, like they can mention like iOS and Android deployment, development, and optimization type things, right? If they know how to do those things, what kind of things would you prefer to see there?
So I prefer seeing the actual skill. Like when you're talking about skills, like what do? You don't do mobile. You do UI for mobile, UI design. You do interactivity. You're doing platform calls to specific features. You can write those things down in like 2 to 3 words each, and it's not complicated to hone in on specifics. If you're doing everything related to mobile, maybe list like 2 or 3 of the skills that you're doing as you work with mobile. And
so like say you're the person that's responsible for the mobile version of your game, or maybe all of your game is or just happen to be mobile games. How would you what would you, I'm just trying to, and this for everybody too, like what would be a good way to represent that in the skill section, that like you do a lot of mobile development primarily or maybe heavily on iOS or Android or whatever, doing the, obviously I can say you're like the main developer doing this stuff. Do you guys have some thoughts on that?
So there was actually another CV which like actually listed worked on mobile, made touch inputs, made transitions between screens with like the platform native UI, etc., etc. And you can like write down familiar with Android platform calls or whatever the likes.
Yeah, I'll jump into that. Like, you actually highlighted it in the actual profile bit. They actually have publishing on both Android and iOS, and that's really where you put in mobile, as Yuri says, unless you're specifically doing something with the mobile itself. Just saying I publish on iOS and Android is good. That is good to have in there, because people want to know all the ins and outs of publishing on those various platforms, because there's obviously some uniqueness to publishing on iOS with code signing and all the rest, as opposed to Android, the Wild West. So yeah, it's good to have some bits in there. But yeah, just the word mobile is is ambiguous. It needs more structure to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another good thing is that on the Twitter account, I did go through it because I did see it. And when I hire someone, they represent the company essentially. And if they represent the company, I don't want to see like any issues pop up. So there are things to be very careful about. Like if you're actively showing radical opinion and somebody has to say, okay, you're going to work with some big company now, and you cannot separate your personal ideas from your professional ones, it's going to be a problem. So I tend to like make sure the person at least is reasonable with what they write. So it was good that the Twitter page was
Very good
well.
point. You
And
don't want to be out there attacking people constantly, yelling at your mom and calling her names on Twitter, and then the employers are looking at that.
yeah, to be fair, he did not link his Twitter, but it's like in 3 of the links here, you can probably reach it within 1 or 2
It is
clicks.
going to be found no matter what. I don't care
Yeah.
what if you're
Yeah.
getting hired
It-
somewhere, they are looking at your social media crap. Somebody in that hiring process is digging through your social media stuff to make sure you're
yeah,
not
and
crazy.
yeah, and this is why Jason Story said it's a necessary evil in this era. Make sure it's all publicly shareable, is what
So
I'd say.
there's a question, a general question. How important is LinkedIn for some of us who have not enjoyed social media ever? LinkedIn has always been I don't want it. How important is it to have a LinkedIn and play that game?
It's
It's Yeah,
I,
for me, LinkedIn is hugely important for networking and the sort of work I do as an entrepreneur. So I talk to companies and I help build companies from finding people and chatting to people on LinkedIn. So that's very important to me. As far as applying for a job, I don't require somebody to have a LinkedIn as long as they put their stuff on their resume and they have a good portfolio. I don't care whether they have a LinkedIn or not. But obviously, people do contact me on LinkedIn talking about jobs and stuff, or jobs that I have open, or jobs that I've applied for. And then just being able to see their LinkedIn takes the place of a resume for me in a lot of cases. So it really is just an online resume for you. If you're actually applying for a job, you don't need a LinkedIn. With me, other people might, but yeah, that's all I see from it. And it's nice that you can get to links from there. You don't have to put tons of links over everything. Like every single one of my jobs that I have on LinkedIn, I have obviously the name of the company, the dates that I was there, what I did for the company, whether I helped build it, whether I was developing on it, etc. And then I have items I worked on, projects I worked on with thumbnails, with links to those projects, etc. And it's a very nice way of laying out, as I see it, a resume, basically. Going back to a point that Yuri made about the Portuguese on the guys about. I agree. If you're sending a resume to me in English and I go onto LinkedIn and it's all in Portuguese, I'll actually kind of ignore it because if your resume is all in English, I don't really care that your stuff's all in Portuguese. I've seen a lot of people though. What they do is they put both on there, Portuguese and English, because I know I've had companies in South America quite a lot. There's a massive tech scene down there. I used to have a company in Argentina work for me for years. So obviously Portuguese, Spanish, whatever, it's essential down there for a lot of people. But yeah, you could put both in English and Portuguese. It wouldn't hurt your chances. Anybody that word hurt with, just shoot them. But yeah, your LinkedIn is a resume as far as I'm concerned.
yeah. One more thing is that the Twitter itself was active, and somebody asked if it's important to put the Twitter in the resume. And I'll say, if you have an active Twitter that shows your development and you're proud of it, put it on the resume because that shows your personality as well. And when you're hiring someone, you're saying, I want to work with that person. And you can only tell so much about the personality from what they show. So this is a good, huge piece of like, oh, we might have some shared interest and it would be nice to work with that person because they take interest in the same topics as the rest of the company. It would be a good fit. So if your Twitter is active and it has things you're proud of, share it. If you're not proud of your Twitter, try to correct your Twitter so you're proud of it. And if you don't have one, just don't include it because linking something dead and inactive, not going to do much. That's my opinion on Twitter, at least.
All right, so I pulled up the next one, so we could just kind of jump over and maybe push some advice that I assume is going to apply across a bunch of different ones. So, is there any last second really important thing on that last one?
Yeah, so it's something that's going to repeat in a few of them, but I just wanted to highlight there are points where you write some or about or like you have uncertainty in your resume, and it's killing me inside every time I see that. If you're writing a resume, write it with confidence and like don't write I made about 10 mobile
That
casual
was
games.
one that caught me too. I saw that right away. I made just change the word about to more than or over or anything that makes it sound like you're not trying to guess approximately how many things you did.
Yeah, if you're
Especially
writing
if the
this and
number's so small. At that point, you still remember how many.
I guess, yeah. But seriously, if you're taking the time to write a resume, take the time to count how many things you worked on, and why are you including the number here. You could say multiple if you don't remember the number, or you don't care.
I'm old. I can't remember how many things I worked on.
That's true. All right, so let's jump on to Christopher's resume. So this one is not anonymized. We'd be able to talk a little bit more about it, I think. And this one is I guess, very different layout, right? Like the UI, the design of it, I guess, is much more close to what I'm accustomed to seeing from software developers, where there's just kind of clear sections and bullet points of stuff and less paragraphs. To be honest, this is the first time when I sent out this resume request that I saw as many paragraphs as I did. I've never seen so many paragraphs in resumes describing things versus bullet points. Most of the ones that I saw come in were much more kind of in this format with a little bit of maybe 2 or 3 sentences and then lots of bullet points and just data. So I'm curious if that's been the same for you guys.
That's the difference between programmers and a lot of other people supplying. I don't see many bullet points in designers or artists. A lot of times their resume will be a little bit more flamboyant in its appearance. It will be nicely laid out with maybe a picture at the top or some background, or there'll be some interesting items about it. The font that they use won't be Arial or Times New Roman. Obviously, if I'm hiring a designer or an artist, if they have a really ugly resume, it irks me. It sticks in my head because it's like you're applying to be a designer or an artist. Like, do a good job of making a good resume stand out. Programmers, I just ignore that because, like, you're a programmer. It's called programmer art for a reason. So I kind of let it go. This is typical of programmers that apply, and it's perfectly fine. But yeah, designers and artists tend to be more paragraphed. Yeah, paragraphed. That'll do. Yeah,
makes sense. For me, one of the things, like the biggest things with the programmer ones, is making sure that the formatting and layout is good. Like, it was one of the first things that throws me off. This one, it actually looks good. Everything's stable. Things are all aligned the same. The fonts don't change randomly, and like there's not a bunch of weird spacing. Because I know that if they do that in their resume, the thing that they're sending out to get the job, the code is going to look like that too. There's going to be like weird line endings everywhere and weird spacing because they don't care about space. They don't care about making it look clean. So I don't expect it to look pretty, just somewhat organized like they tried. You know? And if it's a PDF, I give them a little bit extra leeway because PDFs are a pain in the ass. So overall, though, what do you guys think of this? I like that it started with the education only because it's ending right now. It says expected December 2021. I think after that, I would probably bump that down and make that not the top thing anymore. But because it's like an ongoing current thing, I think that it's cool to call it out there, and it makes a lot of sense. And then there's the stuff about the experience, diving into. I mean, it's essentially some research assistant stuff, but talking about what they actually did there looks pretty solid to me. I guess, Yura, you got some thoughts on this one?
I have another set of things to go through, so it's cheating again. The others should go first.
I have one thing that I don't know how big of a thing this is versus a pet peeve, but when it comes to acronyms, it's difficult when you don't know what an acronym is. So United Parcel Service, I think that's a global company, but UPS is better known as UPS, I think. But I have no idea what CACH is.
Right. Or
So
UIC, if you don't look through the rest of the thing, you wouldn't
yeah,
realize that might be University of Illinois Chicago.
true.
It's definitely not the easiest thing to catch because
I,
if you're not
this
familiar with those.
Yeah, the standard is to the first time you write an acronym, write it out full, and then you can use the acronym. Um, there's probably some acronyms that maybe UPS does not need to be spelled out because a lot of people know that, but maybe not. So that's my only thing is I have no idea what CACH is, and I really kind of want to know now because insured accountability and increased employee retention, that type of stuff sounds cool, but what the heck is cash?
Okay, and then what about the project section? So in the projects is some info on different projects that were made, but there's one thing that I know Dave is going to call out that's missing.
Oh yeah, just pick on me. Hang on.
What's missing from these projects in here?
Dates.
Links.
Oh
Yeah.
Links. You just said it a second ago. That's
Yeah, I
why.
literally just said that 2 seconds ago. Yeah, if they're online links, if they're not, then fine. But if they're not, if you can show them, link to a personal page and have them on there with pictures and stuff, so I can see them. Obviously, don't put tons of pictures and details in your CV because I want to go to that. But yeah, if you can show them, then get them out there and give me some links that I can go in. And if I could play them, even better. I mean, the last guy I did mean to mention, he actually has an itch.io page as well. And he puts his GitHub on there and he puts his personal page on there. And then on his personal page, he has his itch.io. And I actually use itch.io for myself. And I know a lot of other game jammers do. So it's not a bad place so I can go and download and play your games, etc. Because I will. If you made it to the second round, I'm going to go play your games and I'm going to test them out and see what's good about them. Because if you go on about how you're really good at building this particular thing, then I go on and I play your game and you're not. It's not great. It depends what level you're at, obviously. If you're a junior, then I'm going to be like, yeah, cool. We gave it a good attempt. She made this and I'm going to go and check it out and do that. But yeah.
Want me to surprise you?
The
barcode, the QR code at the top is clickable, and it's his homepage, and he has no indication that it's clickable or it's that, and it was killing me inside the entire time. And it has the games there.
Oh wow, that's the portfolio link. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, the QR code is links to a portfolio that's got videos of all these games. You're hiding the lead. It's just buried right there.
You can leave the QR code on there, but have a link to your page as well. Because I'm not gonna.
If something is clickable,
I wouldn't think to click that or scan a QR code.
Yeah. So I actually went and scanned it because it's the first time I actually saw that from the bunch I was going through. And as I was looking at it, it was like, why is it not clickable? Why is there no indication of what this is? Why am I supposed to guess and read it? And then I was like opening the page and I'm like, oh, this is way better. I can actually see the person's entire set of projects and the short description of what each of them is. And there's even GIFs to see like in 5 seconds what it was about.
Yeah, I mean, if this is a paper resume, then fine, but you still got to put that link in there and have it.
I have a grudge against saying if it's a paper resume because he literally has the links, hyperlinks, straight next to the QR code. So it's like it's made for being shared digitally. And also, I want to point this out. Compared to the last resume, something you could probably copy and adjust here is that the last one had GitHub, email, and LinkedIn. And you could just see the word and click on it, and it will send you to the right page. Now, if you're planning to print this, fine, full links. But if you're going and making a hyperlink and you're going to share it digitally, try to condense this so it's nice and easy to see. And you don't have like gibberish of .com/n/name.
I meant having the links more and together.
Yeah, I mean that's the great. Even if you're printing this out and the QR code is there, get the link to your site next to it as well, because I don't scan QR codes. I've done very few in my life, and just
Yeah, I mean the web page is right there at the email domain too, so it's just like putting that right there with the /portfolio, or even just having the main one there is probably the way to go. I think it would be a huge benefit. What about the rest of it? Do you guys want?
I was going to repeat something you said, Jason. I completely agree. If your last thing was your education, have that at the top. But after that, experience has to go first. After that,
experience is usually the first thing I want up there.
Unless you've got no experience in the industry, like I know a lot of people leave college or university or something, and they haven't been able to go and find a job or in the industry, so they're working at a pizza company or a waiter or whatever, and that's fine. Then keep your education at the top. But as soon as you've got professional experience, switch them.
Yeah.
You're right. Sorry, I think you were going to jump in.
No, it's all good. So I just wanted to bring this up since we talked about the summary. It doesn't list out any of the big engines, even though if you go like half a page down, you see Unity mentioned multiple times, and it's something that should be in your skills. Like this is like, if this is the summary about you and I don't see the words Unity or Unreal, I'm going to first assume that you don't know that. You're lucky I can see it in the end there, but like, why not include it in the summary? If HR is going to go through your document, they're going to look up these keywords, and you want that in the summary there. What else was? So I was seeing the education, and at first it caught me off guard. The expected December 2021. It's I didn't expect to see the word expected there. It's just it caught me off guard. Another thing that caught me off guard there was the artificial intelligence 1, computer graphics 1. It's like, I know those are quantitative units, but you don't really need to include that. If you've studied the topic and you have some education in it, do you really need to mention the course by exact name? I
get the impression they might be starting with those, and this is the starting in December 2021.
So you're planning to study something and you're putting that in your resume?
I thought it was the opposite.
It could be the opposite. I'm not sure. It's a little bit confusing. Like I said, mostly because of what Yorai said, where it has the electives and the numbers. I would probably just put that to like focus on those topics and Unity and whatever. And just before I forget what Yorai said up the top, make sure you put the Unity thing up there, not C++, C#, Java, JavaScript, and Python, because nobody wants to hire you to do all of those. Put the ones that you're applying for on there. So, focus on, if you're applying for a Unity job, do C#, Unity, and then mention those somewhere else, maybe loosely if you need to. And if you're applying for an Unreal one, do the Unreal and C++ and mention the other stuff somewhere else. So if you put all of that stuff there, it's going to make it seem like you've just got a very broad, a little bit of experience with a lot of things and not enough to do the thing. You want to focus on the thing that you're actually trying to do in there and put that in there, not cram it full of programming languages.
The cheat code to this is have 5, but always reorder them for the job you're applying for. So if you're applying for a Unity job, have Unity first and then the other stuff afterwards. If you're applying for a straight C++ job, C++ first and the other stuff afterwards. Have 5. And as Jason says, if you're going to see something in the job advert, make sure that stuff is mentioned in your resume or cover letter if necessary. But yeah, skills 5, top 1 top.
Yeah.
All right, Yorai, let's hear a couple more points.
So there's something I wanted to bring up, and it's like a bit more of a broad question, but some of these resumes are in third person, and I've seen some that are in first person. And I wanted to ask, does it matter to you guys?
To me, I have no idea, but it should be the same. Consistent.
Yeah, that's my point. Consistency. Like, if you're talking your third person, then fine. If you're talking the first person, then fine. I don't care which way around it is. I have multiple voices in my head on a day-to-day basis. But as long as it's consistent from the start to the end, that's fine.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up because for some people it's like it's a message from you to someone, hey, hire me. And for some people it's like a description of you as a person that you can pass around to anyone. And it's like, oh, that person is that, and they're reading their thoughts and not like a message from you to them. So I guess it depends who you're giving your resume to. I just wanted to bring this up because some of these sentences got me like um, unexpectedly confused. Like, is he writing about someone else? Is it his project, etc., etc.? Not trying to be too harsh, and again, it's all with good intent. It's just there's programmer art in the text here.
And
um,
to note, this is quite a good post university or just finishing university resume. This is quite a good example of one. You've got lots of details in here. We're nitpicking on a lot of this stuff, but it's good how it's put out there. So I just wanted to note that. I know we're going to rip these things apart when we go through them. And all the stuff we give you, yeah, try and work it in to have it. But this is, if I saw this from somebody coming out of university and I was hiring a junior, I would be interested in talking to this person and asking them why they had a QR code. No, going into all the details is fine. But yeah, this is good.
Yeah. I like the
I-
organization section too. Did you guys note that yet?
Yeah, because
That's
it's
the first
relevant. It's relevant. I don't want to see that you literally spent the summer in Ninja Camp or something like that or whatever. I couldn't give a crap. But that is really opinion. I know a lot of people that like to see that you have external hobbies and stuff
don't.
like that. I couldn't care less, particular. If you're a member of an organization, like you're a member, when you're coming out of university, organization is quite good because if you're in like the game club, and you're in the computer game club and you do this stuff or you go to math camp or whatever, fine. If you haven't got a lot in your resume, put that in. If you've got tons on your resume and then you've got a whole page about organizations you joined, why am I getting another page? I'm seeing enough from the rest of it. But I always say make it relevant because, I mean, some companies like you to have other interests, but personally, I don't care. But that is very opinioned.
So I just wanted to explicitly touch on this again, but I'm not trying to like be evil and say this sucks. This is like really interesting and good. People will want to talk to you after seeing this resume. There
Yes.
are things that you can make it more appealing though, and we're trying to like maximize how appealing your resume is. So someone will go, "Oh God, this resume is like the best one out of the bunch of 100 I had to read today. I want to talk to this person right now and maybe hire them." And there are a lot of things that you can improve, and one of them is this programmer art thing. And I just wanted to highlight it because there are multiple things here that could be just bullet lists on the side. Again, like the first one, maybe not identical, but your skills can be just a bullet point of the skills you have on the side, and you can
I
include
really don't
more of
like
the.
those side lists. That's interesting. Do you guys both like those? Like, I really hate having two columns there because then I just feel like I'm drawn to just look at the right column.
It was
And
a trend. It was a trend in the early 2000s that carried on to about 2010 of having a skills list on the side, and everybody did it. And it's started to go away again now. I like it folded into the actual stuff that I'm seeing because I usually ignore it because I'm looking through the paragraph and the details of what you've done as a job, and I'm looking at Unity in there or Unreal or whatever. So I ignore that skill section. But yeah, it was a trend that went through 2000s because I had it on my resume at one point, a skills side thing. And then I dumped it really early on because I'm like, it's irrelevant. I've got it all in the resume and it's just taking up room.
interesting. But you like that part, Uri?
Yeah, I
And this is
personally
where it's
like
all
it.
subjective, right? So that's
Yeah.
why it's interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like it because seeing the terms is a bit of fluff, like especially on languages. Languages are transferable. If somebody has a good skill set and they know at least one language, you can tell them, okay, spend a month like learning the other language if we must have it that way. But
I've seen
I
that
just
fail
want
many times. I've seen that exact concept fail multiple times. That's interesting.
fail.
I assume you've seen it succeed.
I've seen it succeed twice.
I've seen it fail twice. People hired in to do a job they knew one language they were good at, and
To be fair,
it
some
did not
languages are
translate.
a bit far away from each other. Like Java and C# are almost exchangeable, but there are things that you can't like substitute.
You've done Haskell for 3 years, and now you're going to go and do C# as a language.
Yeah, but I mean, on a broader concept, you're not hiring someone to write a fancy language. You're writing someone to solve problems, and if they know how to solve problems well, they could solve the problem of not knowing how to write that relatively quickly. At least I trust that it can happen. And even if they can't, at least they can convey what actually needs to happen for things. Like someone cannot know the language and still review code and give advice because the concepts are all the same, regardless of which language you work with. Like memory saving, reusing things, pooling. Those are things that we know across languages. It's not anything unique. So I'd put skills in engines and specific things over languages. And for the languages, I wouldn't bother listing more than 3, even though it's cheap text to add. When you're putting it in a paragraph, you're forcing me to sludge through it, even if I don't need it, which is a bit difficult. Like, I'm not going to skip it. It's just that where is the actual meat of the content of this resume is. And it's not in the list of the languages you know, in my opinion. So there was one other thing that I wanted to list as the summary says it's a programmer with a background in gameplay design and implementation, but the experiences, the second one specifically, PT operations tactical supervisor, increased employee retention, production, and improvements in other business goals, and ensured accountability and interoperability between multiple areas and internal customers. Those two have nothing to do with each other, like programmer and handling operations and managing.
I'm guessing that's his part-time job at UPS, a delivery company.
Yeah. But if you were a programmer at a company, it would be different. I'm asking myself, was this experience necessary for this resume? Are you applying as a programmer or are you applying as someone who manages people? And if you are trying to do both, at least include something about it in your summary, because your summary should prepare someone to read through what you're saying that you have as skills. And if you say you have people management skills in the summary, it's 3 words. It would make a lot more sense to read this tactical operations supervisor, in my opinion. So sorry if I'm being a bit
mentioning
harsh.
just communication skills and people skills in there could help tie it in for sure. I assume it's just there because there's kind of nothing else before it. But that's good advice. Yeah, I like just spreading out that summary too. Maybe adding a second sentence in there. If you're gonna have a summary.
This document is already loaded with text, so I would trim down some parts, but it's not bad. It's just something you can improve on. So on the projects, the first thing I want to bring up is no links, even though you have this QR code with all the fancy GIFs right there. It's a real shame. The other stuff is it has the uncertain words again that I covered at the start. Some shaders in the Catnap project could be just made shaders or whatever necessary, like not some. There is no. So here's something I'm not sure how to bring up, but integrated multiple leaderboards solutions and custom handler to manage them per platform. I was like, and along with implemented motion and touch gestures of inputs on phones, I was thinking this could be one line that you made a multi-platform thing and specific features per platform. And I'm like, what would the word handler here actually mean to anyone? Like we write handlers all the time when we program, so it's not anything that's like carrying a unique meaning, in my opinion.
I think what they're trying to get across is that they wrote in a layer of abstraction for the leaderboards. It's just not, or that they at least understand the concept of that they should abstract those leaderboards away. That's kind of the way that I'm reading it, I think.
I guess, but you could make it a bit fancier. I don't know. There is this concept of uncertain and empty words. And I think this is one of those empty words, in my opinion. Custom handler to manage. Like, it's good that it's there. It could be written better. Uh, and I wanted to say that it's nice that each of these project has a summary, because this is going to be a problem later. Like, when you see a project and somebody lists specific features for the project, but you don't know what the project's about, it's going to be really difficult to understand why they're even adding it. Like, so it's good that it's there. Especially on the pizza time, because that one is like utilized Arduino Hall sensor and accelerometers to measure bike and pizza box inputs. If you didn't have the summary of what this pizza time project was about, I would have no way to know what was this about. So
Yeah, that
good
one
stuff.
seems pretty cool. Integrated in a physical bike with an Arduino and Unity to make a game. It seems like definitely the kind of thing that is. Like I said, this was a really good resume. So I think that's the kind of thing that would push it ahead. I wanted to point out the one thing that bothers me with this one too, which was just the spacing or the lack of spacing in between the projects. Like in the rows, it's like a tiny little bit more space, and the spacing between like the years. Yeah, there's the 2014 to 2018, and you get like this big giant space here, and then the little words of Unity that are kind of associated. I think if you just added an extra little line, half line there, it would probably clear that a lot up.
Yeah, you could put that with the name of the project, like the team Artois, etc. This is
Or
going
just
back to the fact that you have a lot of empty words, and negative space would have helped along with bullet pointing some stuff. And like, if he had bullet pointed the first two columns, the education and the summary, he could have saved a lot of space here and like have everything more separated, easily readable. Just my opinion, but
well, you guys want to jump on to the next one?
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Got a whole bunch of them here, so let's see if we can get there we go. This one's going to be a totally different layout. And this one has the one issue that we had mentioned in the beginning with the bars here, and I really want to talk about that first, because I know that I think somebody in chat was kind of like unhappy about it and thought that it was bad to not like the bars, but I think that there's a really strong reason for disliking them, and it's tell me if you guys have a different opinion. But for me, they just make it confusing and make me underestimate your skills. I feel like no matter what you do, unless the bars are all the way up, like it just makes me wonder, like, this Photoshop line isn't even at the P. Like, if I was rating myself at Photoshop, I'm bad, and I would probably give myself a 50%. Some people are bad and they give themselves a 70 or an 80% at things, right? So you got to remember that like the bar that you're putting there is competing with whatever their own internal basis is. Like
Yeah,
for
it's
them,
meaningless.
like average is 90, and if you're below 90, then it means that you just are bad at it. So it's too much ambiguity that doesn't help. I guess that's
You're not
my thought. What about you guys?
in broad concept. I want to say you're not a Pokemon. Don't rate yourself like one. um, when people hire you, they want to see what you have in terms of skill, and that's nice that you're going to rate yourself 7 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 in certain things. But saying you have the skill is fine enough. And when people say, "What is this person giving me?" they don't want to see what is this person not giving me. And it's like, well, can you raise this skill? Can you not? If we need you to do some more things, you're going to be able to say yes, no. I don't even know the basis for what the skill cap in each of these bars is. Like, what is full Photoshop? What is half Photoshop here? It's entirely meaningless, and it's just showing me that you don't have something rather than that you do. It's self-harming every way you look at it.
It's showing that little white space there after the O. That's the part that gets focused.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think it's kind of odd. Like, if you have the skill, put the skill. If you feel like you can learn the parts you don't know, then put the skill, because you can pick up anything you don't know if you need to. And most jobs don't require all of those skills. Some do, I suppose, but maybe not most, and it's also repeated on two pages. But yeah, I just I guess there could be a local thing, though. I don't know if there are trends in local resumes that people want to see that sort of thing in some areas and regions, while other regions are, going to have the same reaction most of us are having here. But aside from that, I wouldn't put it in. It just seems like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking up space that you could put elsewhere in this CV and expand on stuff. Like you've put your achievement is final year project in game development, Death Race game. Tell me more about that. Let's have some more of that in your CV. Get rid of the bars. They don't make any sense. There's especially when you're doing something like a programmer, which is very logical. Think through everything in your CV logically. Should it be there? What is it telling the person? I mean, if you put "I'm familiar with Photoshop," that's better than putting Photoshop and a half bar. Like that tells me, great, this person's familiar with Photoshop. If I give them a task with Photoshop, maybe it's not something they've done, but they can do it. They can learn it because they already have the interface. They can hit the ground running. Boom, they can get it done quicker. But no, I'm not interested in bars at all.
And you're bringing up a really good point that if you need someone to do something with one of these skills, just listing the name is enough because they're going to ask you if you have the specific one. When you have Photoshop, it tells me nothing on whether you know the task I need. So I'm going to need to ask you anyways. Even if it was full, I'm going to ask you, have you done this? Can you do this? And even though the skill might be full, it might not be useful. Like it might not have been the work experience you need to do that specific thing. So again, meaningless to see half a bar up.
Yeah, and going to the thing, I want to see more on. You've got good things listed here. Work experience. Give me some more details on your work experience. What you did there. The date and stuff should be after the thing. So I was a games developer at the Art Games from this to this, and I did this. This is what I was doing there. This is what I learned. This is what improved me. Those sort of things in there. Get that stuff in there.
Yeah, I like to see that as like a couple bullet points, especially like the highlights. If you did anything super cool that people got excited about on the job, but call that out too. Made any big improvements, made some big cool thing that you can just talk about. I call that out, which is not usually too hard to find if you've been doing something. There's gonna be something that's like the most exciting thing.
And you've also got some broken parts here. Like I have a clear logical mind with at the very top there, but then you've got why me over the other side. That's the same thing. Join them up into a really nicely worded paragraph summary, which should include your objective as well, and then your work experience above your education, and then your achievements at the bottom. One single column all the way down.
Start with the objective, then the why me. You think? I think that's where I would go. Like start objective first, and then why me, and get rid of this part. Kind of merge these in.
Just combine it into one section.
Why me?
I'm looking forward to a challenging environment. And I think I can do this for these reasons because I'm this person. That's fine.
Yeah. I do want to bring up a tiny red flag at the top. Did anyone catch that? The numbers?
Yes.
So
at least here, I would say leave off ages, leave off how long you've been doing things, leave off gender, leave off like any personal info here. I don't know. Depends on where you are, but really no benefit of putting any of that on there.
And the numbers don't make sense. I don't even know if it's just fabricated.
The 16 years part.
Well, he's been male for
23 years old. Yeah, it's like, when did you start? What's going on here? So it was like, I'm seeing this, someone is bullshitting me. So I assume it was fabricated for this, and the image, if it is an image that wasn't censored on purpose, then make sure it's a higher resolution. Nobody.
Yeah, I also never would put an image on my resume. I don't think
I've seen sometimes the difference between programmer and designer, artist, and stuff like that. So, sometimes it gives a good look to a resume to have an image on there. It could be a project or it could be your thing, just to brand yourself. It's a branding thing rather than anything else. But if you are going to add branding to it, the high-res image. Do not put a low-res image on a resume. That irks me. So yeah, change that out. And yeah, I don't put my age or my gender or anything like that on my thing. Just don't.
Someone is going to work with you. They're going to figure it out when they talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna look into you more anyway. They're gonna research you, and
Yeah.
so there was something else that I thought was missing too, which is if this resume is focused on programming, but if you look at skills, it's HTML, Illustrator, C#, and Photoshop, but it's supposed to be a game programming thing. I would cut HTML, cut Illustrator completely, loosely mention Photoshop, and focus on the game dev skills, the programming ones that you're actually interested in and talking about up above, the game engines that you're using, anything specific that you feel really strong with in those engines.
Yeah, some of it depends. If they're applying for a web job, then maybe have the HTML above and Illustrator as well. Obviously, you can do some stuff in the web thing. But yeah, if you're applying for a programming job, C# up the top. Plus, it's the one with the highest bar. So
I do want to mention that the order actually really matters, and whatever is highest, whatever you want to be identified as, put it first, because that's if someone is not going to waste time on what you're saying, make sure they are kept in long enough to see this is what I'm going to get this person for. Because if I go, it's a programmer, but he only has HTML, Illustrator, Photoshop, like why am I reading this? And then like I'm seeing the C#. If I saw that first, I would be way more interested in whatever comes next. Sorry for cutting you off.
The most important thing at the top for sure, and order them. I always like Dave was saying with the list of 5 things or 5 programming languages. I did the same, but on mine, the last time I looked at it, I've got about 12 things in the skill section, and I just cut, replace, and remove them down to about 8 whenever I would apply. I'd go through and like pick the 8 that applied most, order them, and then use that. Okay, well, anything else on this one, or should we jump over to the next one? I think we've
two more small things, but I appreciate that the non-white page and the profile picture actually is tied nicer thanks to the fact it's non-white. And when you're sending digital documents, color it however you want. And if it's meant for appeal, I'm going to take it whatever way it comes. Because when you're seeing a resume, you want to see this person is putting in the effort to make your experience hiring them nice. Like, this is what I'm seeing when someone spends time on the resume. I don't want to be given bullshit like the age thing, but if they are coloring things, they're using specialized hexagon dots, etc., I'll take it. It's nice. One tiny problem to contrast this, I don't know if it's specifically for the page that we were given, but it's the same page twice, and I'm not sure why.
That was the last thing I thought worth calling out.
Yeah.
It seems like an accidental lack of attention to detail, which in this case doesn't matter. But in a real resume, there are definitely hiring managers who would just skip it because.
And if you want to get into including things twice, look at the bottom for the first page: management certificate in sports gala UOS for organizing game event 2019 twice. So make sure to not repeat yourself? ?
Definitely, yeah. You got to go through, and it's just like with code. I think you got to have somebody else look at it too, because it's so easy when you look at things to not see the duplicate, the second when you get the and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So just gotta have some extra eyes on it. So hopefully this is somewhat helpful.
And it's repeating ourselves here for different resumes, but there are no links here. And if you are sending this digitally, include hyperlinks, at least for your email.
Definitely. All right, let's go on to this next one. This next one is not a PDF. This one was actually as a doc. It's anonymized, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, I'd say, not the prettiest formatted of all of the ones that we've looked at so far. It feels very much like a default Word doc format, right? Like this is what I expect when I hit the header button and just the normal typing. So it's like that instantly, like I feel like the format alone on this, depending on the hiring manager, may just like it might not even get recognized as a resume.
Yeah. And one thing that immediately red flags me here is that there are no multiple levels of headers, and it's going to be a pain to read. It's like it's not something you want to look at. It's not something someone put a lot of effort into. It's not difficult when you have a doc to just highlight something and change the size of the text or bold it or whatever.
Do you guys want to take a look at the content though, and we can see because we can get feedback on that. Even if the formatting definitely needs some work, I think the content, there's a lot of stuff in here, right? It's experience all the way back to 1983. And I guess one of the things I just want to call first, the first thing that stands out is that it's hard for me to know without reading through the entire thing exactly like what kind of job they might be applying for here with this resume, which I generally like to be able to kind of tell, like, hey, this is a, if this is a Unity job, this is a Unity game developer resume. If this is an Unreal job, like, or an Unreal artist, like, I expect to see some indication, like knowing what it is right at the beginning. And this is definitely more just kind of like general programming info from what I can tell.
Yeah, I mean it's more like what you've done in life, but not who you're trying to get with in terms of skills. At least it's mostly put in order of importance. Like English skill is at the bottom, where software development, security, and performance focus is at the straight top. So I do appreciate that. And I did say language doesn't matter, but I don't. It's like the technology is at the very bottom on the next page. It's a bit of a shame. You could have put 2 columns here for the skills and the technology side by side, because those 2 are important together. And the technology covers a lot of what you've done more than saying software development. Like which software? I do want to say that having the dates at the start and then what you did is way nicer, and that it's set chronologically, because that takes you to see like this person is working on this kind of stuff, and that's the journey they've been through. It's a shame it ends at 2010 to just present. I would want to say that you might want to reverse the order so people know what you're doing now, and this is your best stuff. Like this is your best form. Put it first. The things you did at the start are not as impressive as the things you did last, and you want the most impressive coming first.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely push that up there, especially since software development is like I would put the new thing right at the top.
Yeah.
There's I think tense issues between some of the lines in many of the paragraphs. I think, unlike the skills, for instance, software development, security, and performance, but then independently and quickly acquiring new knowledge and skills are 2 different ways of stating facts. And then similar to the 2010 to present, software developer and system administrator, and then later it's for various customers as a tech lead translating, which is the language could be cleaned up, I think, to make it more clear and consistent.
Yeah, I like the idea of trying to shrink it down into a single page focused on software or on whatever the job is. There's a little bit of chat about that in there, about maybe there's a single page version of this. And I think that you could probably do it and just kind of cut down the things that aren't related to the specific job that you're applying for. So depending on which one is, if it's a game job, then focus more on newer stuff and the languages that matter for that. If it's some other programming job or something, focus on the exact things I think that matter for that position and try to shrink it down. I think that would be what I would try. Would you guys think that would work? Or be an interesting experiment?
I mean, shrinking things down would be beneficial here, and there are a lot of repeating points like interest and hobbies, software development. It's like, okay, so you're not doing it just for a job, but then we have game development. So you could have just said in one sentence software and game development. And I want to say this has the opposite problem where everything here can be somewhat bullet listed instead of. I mean, it has too many bullet point lists as opposed to who you are and what you're doing. Is what I'm trying to say. You could benefit from a healthier mix.
All right, let's jump on to this next one. It's got a totally different layout. This one's formatted completely different from all the others. And I think we'll have some interesting stuff. And it's 3 pages long. We got a 3-pager. All right. So right at the beginning, Luis's resume has a couple things on it that are a little weird. I've never before seen somebody put their birthday on.
Yeah.
I thought that was. I would probably, unless there's some special reason, pull that and just focus on the itch. I would just go with the itch.io and the email and leave all the rest of it out. I don't think, unless you really, unless, have you guys ever seen a reason to put the nationality or place that you're from on the resume? I guess I've never really applied for things that were super far away without the intent of moving there. So
sometimes, if you're applying for a remote position, sometimes it's worth putting where you're from, because it's just a case of knowing dates and times to organise when to do interviews and stuff like that. Gender and birth date you can get rid of, but you can put where you're from. Won't harm you. Go on.
I just wanted to say that the previous resumes did this better, and they just said here is the name, where you are, specific place, and willing to relocate if necessary. Like it was the very first 2 sentences in the other 2, and
and it
the
doesn't
first
need to
2.
be a half a page.
Yeah.
To get all that.
No, you could format that better. It's a personal red on resumes for text.
Yeah.
No,
not a big fan.
No, not
it stood out, but
it stood out. But I'm not a massive fan of having red text. Red text means something in user experience.
Bad. It means errors.
Means pay attention.
Exactly.
So I tend to move away from that personally. But there's formatting. Okay. Somebody's taken time to look at this. And when I look at this sort of thing, I think, right, somebody's taken care and attention to their resume. Even if I'm not the biggest fan of the layout, or the highlighting or the text or the colors or anything, I still can see that they've taken time and visually appealing. But yeah, let's
except for this part right here, where experiences doesn't fit on 2 pages.
I mean, it's 2. But you could nail this in 2 pages easily.
Yeah. Definitely. Get those. So whenever you do split these, though, like if you're going to make sections like this, try to organize them so that your sections don't scroll across multiple pages, so people don't have the second page print. Because when people look at these in the office, a lot of the time they just get like printouts of them and kind of look at them. At least what I've seen, lots of people just look at them physically on their desk too. They'll print them all out and kind of compare them and like write down little notes and stuff. And the split, not great. And I'd also cut high school out of the education completely.
Yeah.
That definitely doesn't need to be there. You've got plenty of other education stuff. I'd just drop that right on out.
So there's actually a couple things with that. The high school one's obvious to me as well. Cut that out. But then the computer science course. So you took 1 course. Even if it's 1 course, that's fine, but spin it a little bit. Because if I see computer science course, to me it sounds like you took 1 class in college, or
it's hard to tell because it kind of seems like it's a full year, or like is it a? Yeah, you got a very good point. It could be either.
But similarly, on the experiences, 3 months of work experience in the USA as a lift operator, that has nothing to do with game development. So why is that there? And again, I think the order on all of this should be flipped. The most recent at the top, most distance at the past, same on both. And then the order of these, I want to see if it's game development, give me your competencies first. Especially if you don't have that much work experience, then give me your competencies, give me your projects, then give me your education, and cut the experiences out completely.
I can see the value in that that lift experience thing, just if they're trying to do international stuff, though. Although I wouldn't put that as the top job, I would put that down below and just put put the city and the state, Lewisberry, whatever state that was in, just so they know that you've already been approved for whatever international stuff and you've done that before. It might help for that. This has a little bonus, but yeah, the game stuff. Oh, but that's not actually a job.
And I'm going to say that on the competencies and the projects, order by importance, not by general timeline. That the other things go chronologically, but the competencies should always be what you're applying to the most. Like as David said, scroll between the 5 you have, reorder them every time, and your languages, sure, the game engine's perfect, and the languages, the programming one, I would actually put those your normal languages below the programming languages, in my opinion, because if you're being hired,
Yeah.
it's likely that you already are talking the same language as someone that is reading this document.
Yeah, you can also probably leave off. I don't know about you guys, but Word and Excel.
Oh, you don't need those on there. Yeah, no. If you're applying for a programming job, then no, not necessarily.
No,
Unless it
MySQL is
mentions
okay
it.
to have. Yeah.
Unless it mentions it in the job description you're applying for. You must be proficient in Word, Excel, and a few other bits. Then yeah, get them in there.
Otherwise,
you
it just feels like keyword stuffing. It's just
Yeah.
like it's extra stuff that like you probably should know how to use Google Docs or Excel or whatever thing they use, and it won't be too hard. If you can program and use Writer, you can use Word.
I do want to highlight in this resume's favor is that it has icons for anything that is relevant to that icon. Like the games have a specific icon, the mobile things have a specific icon. That's nice touch. Like this is something that lets you see, oh, he's done some of this and it has an interesting icon. Did he do more of this? I'm taking interest in like, oh, this, and that.
It's nice that they've spent time to cultivate their resume. It shows
Yeah.
that they've actually gone out into the thing. Yeah.
And I'm only going to say one thing about the usage of the color and the things. It looks like it's made for a printout, which it's fine. I respect it. No links here at all, except the itch.io that's fully spelled out. And again, if it's a printout, okay. But the big black bar at the top is going to murder anyone trying to actually print it. So make up your mind if you're trying to be printer friendly or not.
Yeah, that's true. Also, you put your name twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, again, I guess the overall though was cut the personal info section down, just get the email, name, location, and itch, shrink it way down, get rid of the high school stuff, rearrange things so that chronological order is right. You can do newest to oldest almost always. And then rearrange competencies like you were saying, put the important stuff at the top and things like languages at the bottom, regular spoken languages at the bottom, right?
Yeah, another little tiny thing. If you're going to put in your competencies, you've got languages in bold, and then you've got the details in bold. Whereas the other stuff, you've got your bold headings and then your non-bold other things. Picky, really picky, but it's there.
I also don't need these headers, really. Like, we know Unity and Unreal are game engines, and that these are programming languages. Anybody reading the resume should know these things, I would think.
Yeah, it might have to go for an HR department, though, so sometimes...
Yeah. I'm indifferent about this kind of
no,
detail.
Yeah.
All right. Should we jump over to the next one? Got a couple more. Try to go through them a little bit quicker on some of these. Let's pop this one up. So we got Danny who's here, a game engineer with 3 released games right at the top. How do you like that? This one's totally different. The right at the top says Danny, game engineer. Here's the links to all my stuff. YouTube channel as well. I have to check that out. And then right into released games with a link to the one that it looks like is publicly available.
Yeah, like this is immediately appealing to look at. You have colored highlight title, the headers. You have links for everything in there, clean, like the first resume that we talked about. That's not like messy text to go through. Everything works, and you have all the one thing that caught me off guard is in the released games. It's good that the first one has a Google Store Play link, but the second one has serious medical game, and I'm like, what does this register to?
I don't know what that means either.
Yeah,
I assume it means it's some treatment thing. Like,
it'll probably be the first thing that comes up in the interview. I'll be like, come on, what's a serious medical game? Then I want to know more about it. And I'd actually pick it out as a talking point for me. But it's a little, it's out there.
And the skills, including details about each of the engines, is really good. Like when you see even the simple keywords like C++ and blueprints, it means that you did actually touch it and not like just placed some lights and you think you have Unreal experience. Like you did live this. What did you do with the blueprints? What did you do? What kind of programming did you do outside of the blueprints with your C++ skills? That's things that I'll ask questions about, take more interest in. I know those things by heart, like this is the core of Unreal Engine 4, but it's nice that the person actually lists it out because he's a programmer, or rather engineer here, and he has experience in programming, so it brings you to that. The one thing
Experience
that
and education is in the right order.
the one thing that's kind of catching me off guard is that on skills he has GitHub and SVN, and he already has a link to his GitHub. So
Oh, that's fine. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. GitHub's not spelled correctly. It's a capital H.
It's actually right the first time. Just
It's
one
right the
thing.
first time. The second time not.
Yeah, but I would put it under version control and then GitHub SVN, like in one line. Overall, this is one of the best resumes here, though. It has proper coloring for every level of importance, which is great. Just great.
Oh, Jason's gone. I'll keep going then. Yeah, no, it's nice. Everything's there. It's in the right order. It's one page. I can read it quickly. Yeah, I don't mind having the release games up the top there. It gives me something to look at. I could go straight to that link and start playing with it.
Well, that is one of the biggest selling points. This is an industry where you could say, "Hey, I made this," and that could be enough. I made this. Oh, well, if you made that, I know that. That's great. That's half the battle right there. Especially if you have less experience. I mean, here we've got experience. Bone Studio is listed twice. One was part-time, one was full-time. Great that they hired you on full-time. But could it be just one thing, or is
no,
it
I don't mind having that. As you say, it shows that they started as a part-timer and got hired as a full-timer, which speaks volumes to their capacity, their capability. Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't mind that at all. And also, I like the way I'm seeing everything you're doing in those jobs as well. It's something to highlight. A lot of people, as I said previously, talk about the team. You're talking about what you did. You oversaw that last 80% of the full release. You did this, you did that. It's good.
Yeah, cool. And I wanted to bring up, someone in the comments mentioned, isn't Git the actual skill? And there is a separation where Git is the version control tech itself, and GitHub is just where you store everything. So knowing how to work with GitHub itself means, hey, this person can actually open a project on GitHub, manage it, do automations, etc., within GitHub's functionality. So it is a skill separately from Git. I would say adding the terms version control is just better for like HR, but that's about it.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, if HR is going to read through this version control, just listing it. Yeah, totally. Yeah, tidy.
Yeah, and I just want to point out the resume even has everything in reverse chronological order, which is perfect because we see the current year right now. Just this is the best resume so far. There's almost nothing you can like point at it and say this is improvement worthy.
Yeah. Well, it's very concise and right to the point, right?
Yeah.
There is a little bit of switching of the tensing, but between oversaw and implemented past tense versus maintain and optimize current tense.
Well, that's his current job, and that's his previous job.
Yeah.
No, what? Yeah, I mean, he oversaw the last 8%, and now he maintains,
the updates and patches. So yeah, the release happened already.
Yeah.
All right. You guys ready for the next one?
Yep.
A very different format coming up. All right.
Yeah, this is the celebratory one.
This one's got a very distracting background.
Yeah.
Which looks cool and all, but I'm not a fan of it because it makes it much harder to read and focus on the different areas. Like the images, they're constantly pulling my eyes around, and it's hard physically harder
So-
for me to read.
There are two things here. The first one is that the text is like low contrast compared. It's not sharp blacks that you can hone in on, and then the colors have a very vivid level. Like they're saturated and they draw your eye because of the contrast. And this is really, really bad because they're small points. They have corners which are salient. By the way, in UI design, this is a big topic. That as things that have more corners will draw your eye more, and those triangles and squares are killing you here. If you want to have celebratory marks all over the place, make sure the colors are really, really faded out close in contrast to the white, and that you make the shapes with the least amount of corners as you can. So this is the first red marks. Then the email is not sorry. There is a big gap between the thing that you're providing and where it is, like email, 20 empty letters, the email address, phone.
There's really
20.
no need for those headers, is there?
Yeah,
Email,
yeah.
phone, and links.
You could argue that the link, that the email is for sorry.
Recognition
Yeah,
software.
it could. That the link could be to something else that's not your email. So it is good that the term email is there, but because it's not a standard email address, if you pay attention, it's not like Gmail or Hotmail or etc. So you don't automatically know it's an email unless you look at the @ sign, but it can still be something else. I would say that if you have hyperlinks on everything, make sure they look like hyperlinks, because the LinkedIn, the Facebook, the ArtStation, and HIO all have underlining, which is good. This signals, hey, maybe I can click this, but the email does not, and it is clickable. So consistency would be nice. I'm not sure how I feel about the 01, 02, 03, 04 for all the headers, the profile, employment history, etc. etc. You don't even reach 10. Why do you include the numbering here?
Yeah, the numbers. I get the idea of trying to make it a format, but it's just distracting from what you need, which is like very opposite. If you look at like the previous one that we were looking at, there's very little distraction and it's directly onto it. And here there's a lot of distraction and it's really hard to, I think, get to the info. And the profile part doesn't it doesn't really highlight what it is that you're bringing there, and it kind of changes context. Like at first it says I'm a software engineer, but then the next paragraph just says to work as an Android developer, where I can use it. It kind of goes on to like what the objective is. It's almost like that was pulled from an objective header section, because otherwise it doesn't make a lot of sense, and it feels very much like a standard college objective type thing that they tell you to write, like put in these things. And with that part, I always prefer focus on the actual job and why it is they should hire you. If you're going to put something there, don't put what it is you want or why, your aspirations or things, unless they're related to how you can help them with the job, because otherwise it's just noise.
There is something someone mentioned in the comments. Vtorps asked if Hotmail is good or bad. I want to bring this up because seeing your personal email, I'm completely indifferent to it, but sometimes it is interesting to see people who spend the time to make a specific work email, like if they have their own independent business, etc. They might have a specific address, and I think Jason Story mentioned he prefers that kind of thing because it's really easy to do. I think Google lets you set like a custom at whatever with relative ease, and if it's not a lot of effort, just go and do that. Show something that's a bit more professional. Just if you want to fancy things up, and then you can also have a separation, like at your own level. These are things for work. These are my personal things. They don't get mixed up. Has its advantages. One thing I want to bring up though, if you do have 6 headers and you want the colors, dump all the shapes and stuff and just color your headers. Colored headers are perfectly fine, fair game. You can make them nice.
Yeah, other things just consistency bits like your employment history. You go from early to late, to recent. No, sorry, you go from past to recent, and then your education goes from recent to past. I'm not going to bang on about the whole bars for skills, etc. We've already gone over that. Typos. You're a developer at Creative Digital Labs. Get the V in there. Get the capitalization on the others. Capitalization on all your sentences. Yeah, just
I would reword this one too, so that this line doesn't seem so related to like your first week of work. There, it says the first task is to help create a 3D casual game. Let's say building a 3D casual game in Unity or something.
yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
simplify that down into a single one. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, all your advice there. And what about, we got the typical bars that probably cut these. Most of these don't even apply. HTML, CSS, PHP, Java. You got to go all the way down to this one to find something that applies if you're looking at a game dev job, or at least a Unity game dev job, and then Android. Right? And then the rest of it's just probably unnecessary noise unless you happen to do something with SQL or one of those has a backend, but probably not when you're applying for the jobs. And then internships, capitalization for sure. Yeah, and like you said, a developer. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Internships can come under employment history as well.
Yeah.
Because you've got your employment history there, you've got employment, and then you could say, and I did these with those internships can come straight afterwards. Don't lose them because you're brand new into the industry. Definitely have them in there. But yeah, stick them under employment history and then the education afterwards.
You guys ready for a totally different format?
So
you guys ready for a totally different format?
Always.
Yeah.
Let's see a one-page format that's kind of a mix of some of the other ones that we've seen.
I actually like this one a lot, though.
You do? Is it just because of the format?
Yeah, I think the bar, it has a good visual design. The skill bars, it's killing me a bit inside, but the links
This
are
is
there.
a template.
Sure.
I've got a resume from back in 2000 that's exactly this format, with the picture at the top, with the personal stuff down the side in the blue bar, with the blue headings and everything that I just literally ripped off of line somewhere.
I wanted to say, this one is actually like good to print. This is visually appealing. You can put it on someone's desks and they want to watch it. And it has the links in full, which I guess from a time when you couldn't send it digitally, it's fine. And you also have the hyperlinks so you can click it. I really don't feel that the skills should go all randomly and, again, remove the skill sliders. But I do like this visual design. This is at least some level of effort.
No, it's nice. They've spent the time. They've laid it out. It's yeah. I mean, skill bars,
high resolution image.
High resolution image. Yeah, all good. Yeah. Oh, also, I'd just like to point out, sometimes when you send stuff to, if you're applying directly to a company, it's fine. But sometimes when you send things through a job agency, they will try and rip things out because they don't want to have certain personal information and everything there for the resume to then come to the hiring managers. So if you ever apply to if you're ever going through an agency that's then going to give you to other people, sometimes have a conversation with them about what formatting they're going to do to the resume that then gets passed on. Because if you have something like this where they can't easily rip things out and change things before it goes to the end person, they can make it a mess and really mess it up. So if you're going through an agency, and this is just general, it's not about this resume or anything like this, it's just a general point. If you're going through an agency at all, double check what they're going to do to your resume before it moves on to the hiring manager. Because I've seen some resumes that have come through hiring companies and agencies and been like, why is this such a mess? Because they've tried to black out the photo and any identifying features and phone numbers and all the rest, and it messes it up. So just a point to note for everybody: if you go for an agency, double check how they're going to format your resume, because you might be able to format it for them and then pass it to them, which will be nicer. Though I try not to use resumes personally myself. You might need to.
So do you guys think there's anything missing?
There's a slight formatting thing. The skills summary needs more space above it to match the certificates at the bottom.
I would say I would strip some of the personal information out, like in general, like the birth date again, just
Address.
not there, even though, yeah. In terms of things missing, I don't see links on the work experience, which is a bit of a shame, but it's not like there's much that you can show there. So
yeah, there's a good bit of white space here, so you can expand it when you add more work experience. But for now, what I would do is, if possible, add another bullet point or two to what you're doing in your internships. Just to give me a little bit more information, because I want stuff to talk to you about when I get you into an interview. So put a little bit more in there. It gives me a bit more details. Maybe personal projects that you've got going on instead of interests. Give me some links to I'm building this game, or I'm doing this piece of coding or something. Because that'd be nice to talk about it in your resume. But we've got links there to go to your sites. You could just put a little bit more in there and remove some of the white space.
Yeah. This one's one of the ones digging through and going through the itch.io page. I found this game, but it did actually bug out, which is something I would try to fix too. Because it bugged out when I was moving and got onto the second level. I couldn't move anymore, and I got stuck on a wall. Oops, and I just hit quit. That probably shouldn't be there as an option. No need to have a quit there on a WebGL one. But yeah, this is like a neat little thing, and it's kind of hidden and Oops. Oh yeah, that's right.
You're going to stop playing these people's games online in front of them. Harsh.
I'm terrible at it, but yeah, calling out, I think the games and the projects would be very valuable.
Yeah. Give me some more information on that. But yeah, nice and neat. It's a good looking resume for the point you're at in your career. Can't read the little.
Yeah, and that was essentially like little to no experience. I would just make sure to call out the profile stuff there for those games. Show people that you've actually built some stuff, and that you're building things, and list those projects. Put up more of a maybe a little bit more portfolio stuff.
I do want to say I appreciate the disclaimer at the bottom of the blue bar where he agrees to personal data collection. It was like really nice and unexpected to see in a resume, and
it looks very European.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that a thing in Europe because they've got new privacy laws or relatively new privacy laws?
I can't remember. I've lived here for years. I've been in the US for too long.
And no privacy here.
Are we going over the next resume? Because I need some eye bleach.
Well, the next thing that was in there wasn't a resume, but this one's this one? Or are you looking at the other thing?
The black red one. Also, I don't see your.
That wasn't a resume. That was something else.
That was a game.
Yeah. I was like, if someone sends me this to see, like, why was this here? I just wanted to ask.
We should do a show on that, on game pitches. Let people share their game pitches and give them some feedback. That'd be fun.
I mean, it's nice to try and pitch it if it's yourself. Like you
had just share their game pitch with the community and get a bunch of feedback. So here's our next one. Pull this guy up here. So format is kind of in between what we've been seeing, but it's very long. We got 4 pages of info here.
Yeah, at least it's well colored and separated to an extent. It could use some more white space, but at the start we already have good full links, the title of what they are, which is good, some style, the person cared about the formatting. No skill bars.
No skill bars. They start off with the most recent job, and a bunch of the related.
It's a bit of a shame that you have to go down all the way to the third page just to see the skills professional level, but it's fine. It's not the meat of the content, so it's just a shame that there is so much here that I have to go through just to find that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean it's long, but at least it's not full of waffle. You know, it's not full of rubbish. There's stuff in there that's relevant to what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
That is
and
very true. It's all details about the specific things that they did, which could come in really handy, especially if those keywords are big and awards.
I'm going to ask this because I took interest in this myself, but the comments are asking. Semicolons here make little sense. I'm not exactly sure how do you guys feel about it. In the first page on the experiences, there's like a list of bullet points, and it's just semicolon after semicolon. It's like somebody mixed their formatting or something broke.
It is it's semicolons all the way down to the last one, and the last one's a period on each
Yeah.
one. You see that?
So
I don't know. It's interesting.
Is this
If they
is this
weren't
a
a programmer, I would dock them for it. But
yeah? Is this a coding thing where they're showing a show? It's an end.
So I as far as I know, semicolons can be used in language, but when you have
Oh, yeah,
bullet
they can,
points,
yeah.
it kind of loses the point. So, like, two unconnected sentences would be with semicolons, sure, but the bullet points kind of give you the point there.
I'd be like, are they trying to? I would say, are they trying to be cute by being a programmer and putting them in the end? But then the last bullet point has a full stop.
It's the end of the file.
No,
I think
EOF and some
I
braces.
think might have happened there is that the person first wrote it as a paragraph and used semicolons all the way through. Like if it was one sentence, that would have made sense. You have skills in this, that would have been more sensible to use commas, but I guess.
or
And
just
then
not-
they separated into bullet points.
That's a bullet point.
The other thing I would do for formatting too is consider just moving all this stuff over to the left, so all of these lines don't need to wrap. You could probably cut off a page and a half just by shoving everything over to the left instead of having this whole left hand. Because I mean, you have this whole left hand header size. All this is just to tell me that this is still under experience.
I'm more certain this was just to be printer friendly because he has the big margins on the side for everything. But you could have put one more line for experience in the middle and not have it on the side. And then you'd have saved a lot of white space, as you said.
There's a link to the portfolio at the bottom.
So I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to be controversial here, and look, I know
there was also a portfolio at the top, by the way.
Yeah, I know a lot of people say that it's a problem to have more than 2 pages in a resume. My whole thing, and it's again, this is very opinion. I don't mind as long as it's not just tons of filler. If it's tons of filler and it's going on for pages and pages, I get annoyed. But this is fine. I wouldn't be annoyed that somebody gave me this resume, basically, even though it's 4 pages. Because 4 pages? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it's 4.
But I wouldn't be annoyed because there's stuff in there, so it's fine. I'm not one of those people that's gonna burn you.
I tend to agree. Most 4 or 5 page resumes that I read are really not helpful because they list a bunch of stuff that you did that's totally irrelevant and not useful now. This one seems to be just really trying to detail all of the recent stuff, and they seem like they've been relatively active recently, so they got a lot of stuff to put in there. My only recommendation on that would be shrink the formatting to make it take less lines.
Yeah, you could get this. You could get this into free with these, but I mean,
but I think it's overall good.
The portfolio page that links as well is good. It's got other links in there. It's got imagery. It's got iconography, and it shows me everything you're working in a really nice format. Yeah. I'm very happy with the person's website and this resume.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. This page, this resume is perfectly fine because most of this is the meat of the content. If it was like fluffing it out, etc., I would get annoyed, like you said. But this is all relevant, and it's also HR friendly. All the terms are laid out exactly as you'd look for them. So, good stuff.
Okay. It is definitely one of the better ones. I'm going to jump over to the next one in a second. I just wanted to remind everybody, if you want to enter to win the rider license, make sure that you look at the link down in the description. If you already entered last week, you're already in. I'm going to filter out the duplicates. But go ahead.
Somebody asked why mention all the VR hardware programming language and engines are the same. They're not. There's a lot of specifics that go for every VR headset, even if you have like general code. Jason Story, had he been here, would have told you a lot of grudges about specific headsets.
Definitely.
Think of headsets like you would mobile phone platforms. If you say you're a mobile developer, mentioning that you've got iOS and Android experience is good. If you're a VR developer, and I hire a lot of VR developers, I want to know what headsets you develop on, because there are quirks to all of them. And especially if you're in Oculus or you're doing the Vive. Plus, you've got whether they're wired or wireless headsets in there as well, which does make a difference. Mostly for optimization and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I want to see what headsets you've worked on if you're going for a VR position.
So you guys ready to look at this next one? Very different format again. We got starting with technical skills right up at the top. This is good. The LinkedIn link is actually clickable. Okay.
Yeah. The email, that one caught me at the start, like in a positive way, because they did describe what it is. E for email, P for phone, like abbreviations. You had the space here. You could have just written the entire thing, but it's good that you did include what it is. The LinkedIn being clickable but not having a highlight like the email is a bit of a shame, though.
It just caught me off guard for a second. I thought maybe it wasn't, but it is. It's
Yeah.
PDF.
Yeah, but it has no underline and it
terrible.
has no blue.
Yeah, I mean, the meat of this is good. Like, you've got all your technical skills in there, which is nice. Again,
It's really dense at the beginning, though, with some repetition.
Yeah. Again, I would make sure you're ordering this for the job you're applying for, which looks like you might have done already, actually.
It could be. Yeah.
Good experience going through. That seems quite tidy. And then portfolio and game development links at the bottom with all your various items, which I haven't clicked on, but I'm sure they're wonderful. Oh, are these
Some of them
clickable?
aren't even clickable, though. So.
Oh, okay. If you're going to put development links on there, get them clickable.
Yeah, there is a bit of a discrepancy between what is clickable and what is not, and the hype. Not everything that has an underline and blue text is a hyperlink, and not everything that has that is clickable has an underline. It's kind of mixed either way.
Yeah.
Annoyingly.
Yeah,
But
make sure they're clickable.
The meat of the content and the technical skills chart at the start, great stuff. Good for HR. We can read it if we need the details. And you list everything properly, like in order of importance, game programming languages and specific things. When I read Lua, it's a bit of a wild card, I guess.
It's just a scriptable language in nearly everything now.
Yeah, I know, but it's like the developers that make it. Like, did you write in Lua content for someone else to consume, or did you write the system to parse to make the Lua work for someone specific? Because you have to make the methods that someone will work on. It's a different kind of experience from either side.
Yeah, are you writing the Lua API or the scripts for a Lua API?
Well, and then the experience. So, in my opinion, with this one, what really stood out was like the actual experience, and I thought that was quite a bit better than the technical skills section, and should probably be highlighted, because the technical skills section highlights a lot of things, but it also highlights a lot of things that people probably aren't going to care about. Like, there are very few people that care about IBM Watson at their company, or basically a lot of these keywords. Zoom, everybody should be using Zoom. Google, feels like a lot of this isn't nearly as exciting as this, right? Like, worked on Luca game, Frozen stuff, all these things for McDonald's apps and stuff, and actually building a bunch of mobile game apps. Like, that seems like the like this is kind of the lead right here, and it feels again like it's kind of buried behind this part. That makes sense to you guys? Or maybe like if there was something that was calling out this part first. I don't know. It makes me like just want to jump right past and right into the mobile stuff and actually building a bunch of different Unity based apps that are heavily used, have lots of integration, and are interesting IPs that people will recognize instantly.
Yeah, I'm not that bothered about the way they've got the technical skills and the experience. It doesn't hurt me. I'm fine with it. The Watson stuff is actually quite big at the moment. A lot across a lot of VR at the moment. So yeah,
okay.
it in because they're
It's
doing
big on the VR side. That could make sense.
Voice recognition and stuff is quite big at the moment. So having Watson up there is good. Yeah, no, I'm not. It's not hurting me. I'm good with it. Good with it.
Yeah, I'm somewhat indifferent. I do like that everything that I need to read here is like it's not fluffed. It doesn't feel fluffed, at least.
It's good. It's good meat.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, on some of these, you've got notable clients in a big section at the bottom of it, and then in the first one, you talk about a lot of clients that are there, but you don't have I don't know. It doesn't really matter too much, but.
There is something that is a bit interesting is that he has two things that are something too present. The CEO and founder at September 2011 to present, even though he has 2014 to present. So I guess
probably his own company and his contract.
Yeah.
Yes, I actually have that on mine.
I just want to say if it's going in reverse chronological, I'll put that near the top as well.
Yeah, the only thing is relevance, because if you've got several to presents, then sometimes I put them further down if it's my own consultancy and I don't want to be publishing that too much. So it could work in both ways.
It's not like your primary thing. You don't have to think it's like a primary job you're doing.
I guess order of importance matters here. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Any other thoughts on that one, guys?
No, it's nice.
No, yeah.
All right,
just get the links fixed.
Pop in.
Yeah.
One more.
Unless you anonymized it for us and the links do work in your actual PDF, then fine.
No.
Even if they do, the LinkedIn at the top could
right.
at least keep the color. Yeah, just the color.
All right, so here we've got Marshalls. Let's pop this into the correct view. There we go. And it starts off with an email and a portfolio, which I got to say, like, I'm happy that the portfolio is right there at the top. Let's click through to it.
Yeah. And it's printer. This looks like it's printer friendly. The second page is a bit could have been condensed into the first, I think. But other than that, yeah, it's fine. Like it's a low effort. You could stylize it a bit, but it's fine. The site works and it has a lot of visuals right at the start, and like it's about him. Has all his email, LinkedIn. That LinkedIn not being included was a bit weird.
Yeah, the portfolio site that this actually links to, I'd take a second and give it a going over. It could use some formatting.
It's mobile friendly looking though. The portfolio site.
Yeah. Semi. I've just put it up on. Just give it a going over, reformat a little bit, fix your text and stuff like that. So your portfolio site is also your extension of your resume and everything. Put as much. If you have a nice looking resume, get a nice looking portfolio page. Everything should be nice and neat on both sides.
Yeah, things like the About Me text on the portfolio page.
Yeah,
I don't have it up on the screen, but yeah, a couple things. You make some easy adjustments. I do the same with the formatting right here, like this top line. I think Yora kind of mentioned that, like just getting this so that it's cleaner, that you can separate out the description of the job and the position and the time, and have it not just be like one line with a single spacing across. Actually align the things and separating them out a little bit. And a bit of spacing. What else you guys got?
I brought it up earlier, but it looks like it's a bit low effort. I would have put nicer headers. It's like it's good stuff. I don't see a lot of fluff here, but it's not very presentable.
Right.
Yeah, there's not much.
Totally.
I think there are a lot of the previous examples that take as kind of a template or format and kind of match a lot of this data into there would probably make a big, big difference. You kind of call it out because the info here doesn't look bad.
Yeah, it's a mix of
doing-
fonts as well, which annoys. But
Yeah.
like, get your font set up and stick to it. If you're going to use Times New Roman in some parts and Arial in others, just take a second and think about that as you lay out as well.
And even just like you said on the effort part, the formatting here, like certificates and licenses, no reason at all that should be cutting down, or Kansas should be down here on a new line. It's just the formatting on this thing needs a lot of work, but I think the content overall isn't too bad. A good amount of work history. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm going to say we did repeat
Mostly
some of the
image.
stuff, but it's like it's not giving us things to say a lot about. It's written properly. It's just it needs the help of being visually appealing.
Yeah, needs a little bit of care and attention.
Yeah.
Like your second one, pre-visualization specialist stuff, and then you literally run into your paragraph straight after that. Get that into a new line. Get a little bit of a paragraph space between your title and the meat of what you've done there.
And maybe some info on why this was so short. Like, I mean, maybe it's clear to people who read it and know, but if it's just this part, I guess it could be like, but maybe calling that out. That might already be obvious to people though, now that I read through it again. That it's just
It's a
short
contract
thing.
pre-visualization. That'd be
That it's
fine.
yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I think focusing more, getting these two things to be the big highlights too would be really good. All right, I'll take a couple more. I don't know how much time we got left. About an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We can definitely hit a few more. Here's one that's totally different layout.
Before you jump on, there was a question in the audience about what happens if you have a gap in your resume.
Oh, your audio's gone.
Your audio's gone.
Okay, so what happens if you have a gap in your audio, Dave?
1 second.
Clever.
Yeah. Speak. You're muffled. I think it might be an internet issue.
I'll
guess
share the next resume while Dave reconnects to the internet.
Is that back?
Yeah, it's back.
There you go. Okay, you were saying, so an issue with gaps?
Yeah, if you have a gap in your audio. Yeah, that was great timing. I love the joke and the pun. If you have a gap in your resume because you took some time out or medical or military service or something like that, you can explain that in your cover letter. You can say, and the only reason to bring up if you've had a gap is if it's recent. If you've just done a job for 5 years and then you've got another one before that, and then there's a gap there earlier, it really doesn't matter. But if you have had a recent gap and you think it might affect somebody reading your resume or something, just explain it in your cover letter. There's been lots of things happening recently that have led to people having gaps in their resumes. It's not going to hurt you as such, depending on what the gap is. But, just explain what you did. You went away to look at personal projects, and these are the projects you were doing. You went to do more studying. You did military service or anything like that. Just put it in your cover letter that goes with your resume, why there was that gap. If it's recent, if it's an old gap, I wouldn't worry about it too much.
The only thing I have to say on this topic is the only time I'd care about a gap in your resume is if you actively, right now, you're not actively using your skill. And that would be like, well, I'm hiring someone who didn't actually practice this day today. It might take time to boot up his memory of everything. But like, if you had a recent job within, say, the past 6 months, and between that there was a gap, I wouldn't care.
And if you are in a gap at the moment, you're worried about that gap being there. Personal projects, portfolio, keep building stuff out. keep relevant, keep going on things. If I go on and see you've had loads of public GitHub submissions recently, or you've had a project gone up there, or you put your own game out there and it's recent and all this, the gap really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, I've never found them to matter too much. Everybody always has an explanation.
Yeah, and again, it's not
good
like it's a
reason.
deal breaker. People will just ask if they're interested and why is there a gap. You can be a private person, not have a lot to show. You don't need open source projects. It's fine. People don't need to live off showing off their work this way. But just be prepared for the question if it comes.
So we got a technical design resume, which I expect to look quite a bit different, and it does. It has the picture, like you said, was pretty common in design resumes, Dave. And it's got some good parts, I think. I don't know. I kind of, as much as I don't like the multiple layouts thing when it comes to like looking at a designer and not knowing exactly what I'm looking for, it's kind of neat, I guess. But I don't like this gray on gray or this blue on gray at all.
No, I'm not a fan of it, but I wouldn't.
Yeah,
it's not a deal breaker at all.
It's fine. Yeah, it's not a deal breaker at all. It's fine for a printable paper. It's good separation, so I'll allow it. In terms of skills, I like that it has bullet points and no skill sliders. It's laying out the necessary skills first. It does mention Git and SVN. It has all the specific things you expect, analytical skills and so on. It's like the core things, great. It even has iconography for the LinkedIn and the HIO, which is a plus, and the links do work, and they look like hyperlinks, and you can click them. The mail too could have used the blue text for hyperlink, but it does work. There's not much bad to say about the first column, and I like that it's on the left instead of on the right, because you guys said that you want to skip that if it's Jason.
Yeah, it feels easier for me here the way that this is oriented and
so,
I guess blocked out.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up because the first thing that you'll see is on the top left, and if it has to be short and like to the point, put it there first. It's going to get everything across properly, and then they can read all the text.
The one thing I'd like to point out is they've got links to the games in the parts of the job. So under Unity Developer, the first one, there's links to those games, and I can click on them and I can go to them. It's good. I like to see that. I can literally see what you've been working on, which is a released product.
So the two things I would probably look at are the interests part. It's not super interesting. Probably do something else there or remove it. I don't know. Everybody likes music, movies, and books. Yeah, I don't know.
There are people. There was someone else earlier who was like doing sports and yoga, and so it is different.
Right. Well, I think if it ties into the job and stuff, and you can kind of make it tie in, I think that the one that mentioned sports was actually also talking about like VR for sports and medicine and stuff too. And it felt like it kind of tied in. And I don't mean that they should get rid of the intersection, but if you can maybe tie it in a little bit better, replace all kinds of media with maybe some more specifics that could tie into game development and game writing and stuff more specific.
It does have a specific section right after it for favorite games though, so maybe just swap them out.
Yeah, or like the types of things in there. And then the other thing that confused me a little bit was I'm still unsure if this person wants to really focus on game design and apply for game design jobs, or wants to focus on programming and work on programming jobs, or if they just want to do both all the time.
It's technical designer as a subtitle.
Literally, the first sentence is personal info. Imaginative, highly adaptable technical designer. That's probably what he's going for, and it's like
yeah, that's fine.
But everything is about programming after that.
First,
like the focus
technical
on the
designer
resume
can be programmers.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the points to bring out about, I mean, technical designer, a lot of them are programmers. I've been a technical designer before. Something to point out is some game companies specifically like to know what games you're working on, that you're playing at the moment as well. So do note that when you're looking at jobs, that some of them will talk about, tell us the games you're playing as well. It can go in a cover letter, so you don't have to keep updating your resume with it. So it doesn't have to be in the resume. But if you can only send the resume, then put them in here. But otherwise, yeah, you could get them in the cover letter. Otherwise, you're updating this a lot.
I'm going to say that you don't necessarily have to update your favorites, but
well, true. Yeah, true. I'll give you that.
Yeah. I would say it looks perfectly fine to me in terms of like the job, the work experience is relevant. The keywords are not repeated too much.
Yep. You talk about what you did in the companies exactly, which is great. That's what I want to see. And you've got links to those games. That's a good resume. Good resume.
Yep. The only thing I might want to nitpick on, and the resume looks great. It's high above some of the ones we've covered already, but the serif font, you might want to swap that out.
Nice. So the next one I want to pop up isn't a resume. Yeah. Only one person submitted a cover letter, and I thought it would be worth popping up and just talking about the cover letter and the changes it would actually make to it. So this is going to be a little bit different, but I think kind of interesting. So it's cover letter for a job, and it starts off just talking about video games. So it says video games and programming are the two things I've always been most interested in. Previous experiences include programming games for gambling machines, such as I'll skip that part, and being previously employed by a company where I worked on a VR fishing simulator and 2 other projects. Before that, I studied game programming at the Games Academy in Frankfurt to enter the games industry, gaining experience. And it continues on really just explaining their history, their past, and what they've done, which I think is a mistake that a lot of people make with their cover letters. And then it actually goes on to the resume after that. I didn't realize the resume was on page
title
2.
was resume, and I was like, it's not exactly. It's more personally written at the start, but it is a full resume.
It is. And I think that I really want to focus on the cover letter part here first, because I think it's the most important part. When you write a cover letter for a resume, first, it should not be generic. Don't use like a generic letter that you just send to everybody that talks about yourself, because there's really not a lot of value in it. All of that stuff should be on the resume and kind of nailed down. With the cover letters, the only thing that people really care about, in my experience, is what it is that you think you can do for their company, how it is that you can actually help them, and how your experience applies to what they're doing. Because if the cover letter is just like an extra page of paragraph that I have to read on your resume that has absolutely no context and nothing to do with the job or our company or thing, you're just making me read a whole fucking page of resume that's in addition to the resume, because all of this stuff is going to be down there in the resume in a formatted version. You really want to focus and spend this time telling me, here's what I like about what you guys are doing, and here's why I think I would be a valuable asset to come in there and help you. Like, I fucking love Terraria. I've been making mods for it forever. I think that these things would be really helpful. I'm studying this, and I would love to, do anything I can to help you in this way, and these are the things I can bring to it. That's the kind of stuff you want to focus on in the cover letter, not so much like, this is what I've been doing, this is what I like. What do you guys think?
I want to get into the core of this. When you say the term cover letter, what does it cover? And this is where I think there is a lot of intent to think about, because the cover letter needs to cover things you are not confident about for your resume for a specific company. So like, you are covering the gaps of what you think they might not see when they read your resume. This is where you are concerned about the gap in your experience, like we talked about earlier, and specific contexts as to why they might want you, what you can deliver to them specifically. It's specifically covering things they might not see that they would want from you for them. So this is how I see cover letters, at least. Do you guys have any different opinion?
Similarly, I view it as an opportunity to position yourself. They're going to look at your resume and they're going to interpret that, but this is your chance to frame the conversation they're about to have in their own head and provide the context again to what Dave said about why. I think what Dave said, what was it, Jason? Somebody said about why you want to be there. What it is about that company that you want to apply for? Because I haven't had to hire people, but I can imagine I'd rather hire someone who wants to work with this company than someone who's just looking for a job right now or a new position. And I know from my one experience, I applied for a job I was not qualified for in any way. Well, in most ways, but I knew I was qualified for something like that in very specific ways that most people weren't. And so I put that in my cover letter, and it got me an interview with people at the C level, which was ridiculous, but they liked me enough to hire me and create me a job. So it worked because I knew I wasn't qualified, but I also knew that they should hire me for something because I was uniquely qualified for something. And that's what I used the cover letter for.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll just reiterate. Yeah, I mean, that's it. You're covering what it is you're going to provide the company and what they'll see in your resume that's going to really apply to them. I love the particular game you do at your studio. I think I am a good fit for these reasons. Boom.
Yeah. So don't repeat your resume in a summary as your cover letter.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about this resume a little bit too?
Please do not
luckily,
evolve your
most stuff's nicely anonymized. Go ahead.
I just want to scream about the Pokemon thing again. You don't need this Pentagon development chart for your skills. And also, is this how you write strengths? Isn't it
No,
a typo?
the strengths is written wrong.
Yeah.
So spelling mistakes, yeah. I mean, even hobbies and interests has...
Even the leadership doesn't fit in. It's like dying off on the wrong end because it's clamped to the left side of the paper. It's like, if you're going to do a nice visual, at least make it fit well.
Oh yeah, strength is typoed, spelled wrong.
And leadership.
Yeah, I think that the visualization part doesn't matter. Let's look at the content too. I put a lot more focus on this stuff, right? So you've got the employment history and the tools programming stuff. Like some of the other ones where we looked, they had a lot of the details on like the tools or the things that they built that really helped or the parts that they used. I would expand this part out, focus some of those skills and things that you did underneath those employments, and kind of probably just get rid of this whole section right here. Move the skills into something that's a simple list without so much detail. You could put 6 years of Unity and C# experience, but I wouldn't necessarily put all the things with amount of time specifically. And then what about the other part? So the projects part, what do you guys think about screenshots on a resume? That's a curious one for me. I'm not sure. I kind of like it because it gives me a nice little view, but I don't know if I would just prefer having a link.
Zero problems with it as long as it's a digital only resume. I'm not going to print out your screenshots for your resume. And if you are making a digital only resume, hone into that fully and make sure all your links are prettified, that they're all hyperlink visible, etc., etc. And I do want to bring up that if it is going to include screenshots, it should also include nice iconography. When you look at the bottom left of the page with the strengths thing, it has hobbies and interests, and then a bunch of images that I do not know what half of them are. And they are low res too.
Sense, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's
like video games, nuclear reactors.
Yeah, one thing
cards.
One thing I did like is that the core skills, even though it's sliders, it does include years of experience, which is a bit better than meaningless points on the character sheet.
That has a meaning to it over the bars. You can drop the secondary school from your schooling. And education and school should be the same thing. Expand on your employment history a little bit. I know you've got sections after this, but if you remove the bits we've talked about that you just don't need, and then you expand out a little bit more in your employment history about what you did there. That would be better. And you have the details because they're in that second and third pages. My role was a programmer. My tasks were doing this. Change that over.
Yeah.
Put that in your bits.
One thing
and then have this in a portfolio.
One thing I wanted to bring up that's actually somewhat positive is that every page of the resume, assuming it's about to be printed, includes the phone, home, and email. Now, if this was a digital document, which it should be because it has screenshots, you wouldn't need to include it multiple times. You cannot have half a document. But if you're printing it, it's good that you have the phone, home, email, etc., the contact information per page, because then you can just hand out that one page.
Yeah.
I would also probably change the formatting on these
Yeah.
second and these other pages because I don't know if you noticed, but these are not related. These are separate jobs, but it's very hard to
really
associate
Oh,
it. Like
no.
the left side is one set of projects, then it's like the next side, but I don't. It's hard to know like the chronological order and all that. I'd probably just split them into a section, maybe change the formatting here, make it a single column instead, especially for these pages, and just go thing by thing. And also on the tasks here for this bug fixing QA gameplay tutorial, I would just rearrange this. Put gameplay at the front, tutorial second, bug fixing and QA last, because those are not the parts that you want to get hired for and focus on, unless that's what you want to focus on. I don't know.
Yeah, there's another point here that I want to pick up. If you have playable builds of your game and they're in zip files and all the rest of it, a lot of times I won't download this on a first, because if I'm doing a first pass on people, I want to get through things really quickly because I'm going to just be chopping people off and then moving on to the rest. If that's the only zip you've got of your playable game, then fine. Yeah, put it in. But if you can have trailers as well, awesome. And this person has trailers, which is great.
Yes.
So if you've got trailers or just little YouTube, and they don't even have to be public YouTubes, they could be private or
unlisted, like this
unlisted. Yeah, unlisted videos that I can literally go on and watch and see what you have. I have unlisted ones on my portfolio. That's good. It's a good thing to have because it means I can get through this really quick and I can see what you've been working on. So just a thing to point out for people.
And I just want to point out, if you've never uploaded an unlisted video on YouTube, go ahead and do that because it's really easy and you shouldn't be afraid of doing that. It's a real booster. Simple. Yeah.
Yeah, they focus. Show this thing right away. I would, highlight this. Like this should be like a portfolio piece link right up at the top. Go check this out.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I do have a bit of a problem with every job listing the same skills sometimes. The first two ones near the screenshot, like C++ embedded hardware, C++ embedded hardware. I don't know. It feels like boilerplate almost. Is it necessary?
Sometimes I like it because it shows they've had experience in that same thing across multiple jobs and they've got more years of experience working on it. So it doesn't hurt me when somebody puts that stuff in. It's when they put in massive paragraphs that are exactly the same, then you're like, okay, that's a bit odd. But when they just put their skills for each job they were doing, and there are some that are cross, then that's fine.
You guys want to take another one?
Yeah.
You should probably do some questions as well. Lots of people have questions. I miss them.
Take some questions, and I want to set up my giveaway. Start that running too. So we'll kick that off after this one. So this is a single page. They're back down to the nice small format, and very different. So, what are you guys' initial reactions to this one?
I mostly love this one. It has good calligraphy. It has iconography for all the things. It's all clickable. The links do work. The email is right at the top, along with all the personal information that actually matters. There's right below the big name, the link to the homepage for all the things you'll want to see. It does warn me that it's a potential security risk ahead if I try to open it, but
that was one of the big things that stood out for me. Is it gives a certificate warning. Fix that, because a lot of people will just not click through.
Yeah.
HR people are definitely not going to click through, and they might like mark you as a virus or a spammer or something, just because they don't understand what's going on there. And it's an easy thing to fix.
And including the links with the iconography straight near every title and making the titles clickable is great. I would want to highlight the titles for the projects with color. Like the tower stack, you can click it and go straight to the Play Store, etc.
Yeah, and I think they were all clickable.
Yeah.
It's just it's not obvious. You can't tell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make
So
it more
click
obvious.
them and then have a link to
Yeah.
make that apparent. And the tower stack one had a cool little trailer and everything too.
Yeah, it doesn't list specifically what you've done with each of these projects, but it's nice enough that I want to ask you instead, which is a win either way.
The only thing that I think for me is really missing is engine experience. It's hard for me to tell because it's not listed in anywhere except for that software and framework section, and then maybe like the little Unity logo icon. But the fact that like if they're applying for a Unity job, it would be kind of hard for me to necessarily tell because Unreal's listed first, and
yeah,
like,
the bottom
Unity
right,
is like,
the bottom right does list programming for level design, Unity technologies, and rapid gameplay prototyping. It's under certificates and awards, so might have some credibility.
I guess I would just kind of highlight the Unity stuff a little bit
Yeah.
more, or what engine you're using in the most recent company, something like that.
That's fair.
And then definitely make sure that if you're applying for an Unreal job, the Unreal one is first, and if it's a Unity job, switch those, move Unreal down. So that otherwise, people are going to assume whatever one's first is the one that you primarily open, your default one that you use and know the most about.
Yeah, I think Yuri mentioned it. I'd like a little bit more information on what you did on each thing yourself, because this is a resume for you. You can lose the public school bit because that's, again, just to keep the most relevant stuff that is going to make a difference to your application. It's a nice resume. Make the projects, have a link next to it. I mean, just put title, just put a word link and have it blue and underscore with underline or whatever, as the guys say. But yeah, get some more information about what you did on there. But it's clear that you've got skills that I can see and I can highlight, and they're in the links.
Do they need to specify? Another person said they're expected to graduate in December 2021. This person is expected to graduate in July 2022. Should they specify that they are currently in school?
Not necessarily.
The only problem with when you're applying for the job is if you're not going to be able to do the job at the moment. So if you're making this application and you're currently in school, if it's not a night school, it's a day school, you're not going to be able to come to the company, or you're going to be very limited on the amount of time you can give, you can put that in the cover letter and just state that. The most annoying thing is when you ring somebody up because you've read their resume and you're like, I like this resume, they're good for a junior position, let's get in touch with them. And then when you ring them up, they're like, yeah, I'm at school, I'm not going to be able to do this for this amount of time, or I'm not going to be able to do it. That should be somewhere. If you can't put it in an email, you can't put it in a cover letter, make sure it's clear in your resume, you are not going to be available for this time, or you're going to be available as part-time. And it depends. I mean, if you're applying for an internship and you know the gaps and all the rest, then fine. But yeah.
And I'm going to say you really need to mention it before you get hired, because we did have a case where we hired someone who was studying at the same time as working with us, and halfway through he had to leave the job because he had to focus more on this education and like finish it off.
Yeah, that's super
he wasn't
annoying.
able. Yeah. So like you go through the entire process with someone and they just can't deliver because they have to choose one or the other. It's like it sucks for both parties.
All right, so you guys ready to jump over to questions?
Well, somebody just asked the question: resume, Word or PDF? PDF. Answered.
Yeah.
I mean, PDF that you can't edit would be preferable, so nothing goes wrong in transition.
Yeah, with all the links in there as well, and clickable links. But PDF,
digital
not Word.
format. Yeah. And also, someone asked about how much does a GitHub profile matter. I would say that if you have one and you intend to share it, make sure it's presentable. Include the proper links, show proper activity if you have anything. Again, because if your GitHub link has nothing to show for it, don't include it. If it has something to show, make sure it's presentable. That your projects have proper introduction pages and links for whatever relevant to them and what was shown with them. Even if they're in maintenance mode, just go ahead and update the readme.markdown. Like, it's that simple. I actually have a project of my own, like that. As soon as I made it, I wanted it to be as presentable as possible. So I included all the links, the credits, etc., etc. And I would want to say that you don't need to have a lot that's publicly available, because when you make work on GitHub, it's essentially open source, and there are people who are concerned, like, why am I working for free? People are going to copy all my stuff, etc., etc. I don't know how much this point matters to you, and I wouldn't judge you if you don't want to deal with this kind of stress. Like, not having a GitLab page is fine. It's just a plus if you have something to show for it that you're proud of.
Totally agree.
Yeah, sometimes with the GitHub, it's a sort of a second round thing. Once I'm digging in deeper into people, I'll start going to the GitHub and I'll start looking at their code, etc., to see how they code and what it's like and all the rest. If you've got visual stuff you can show in a portfolio that's very quick, great. And when you have a GitHub, put some descriptions on there as well. What is this project? What am I looking at? I don't want to just see a repo title and then have to guess what's in that repo. Give me some information on there, because again, you want to make it nice and easy for people to get to stuff and see what you're doing and know what you're doing, because they have not got a lot of time, and some places the amount of resumes we get in are ridiculous. So
a lot of places get crazy numbers. You're getting like hundreds of resumes for every job position, I assume, usually.
Yeah,
Can you repeat the question?
Where it is.
Can you repeat the question? Something got out for me.
I was saying, like, on Dave's point, like, of a lot of resumes. I mean, I don't know about all of your guys' jobs, but most of the places I've been, like, every position would get hundreds of applicants. It was just freaking nuts, and most of them wouldn't get it. Like, if they're badly formatted, easy to just get tossed out, right?
Mm.
Like, the easiest thing, because when you've got a stack of hundreds of them, or a list of emails of hundreds of them, it's very easy to just disqualify somebody for like they misspelled something. A misspelling in a header is an easy, quick disqualification. Even if you're like the perfect applicant, which kind of sucks, but it's really important to note.
Somebody actually asked us a question earlier. They said, because we mentioned, not such whether it's disqualifying or whatever. But to Jason's point, if you've got 100 people to get through and you're just literally trying to get through the first pass, then if you're finding good applicants immediately, then a good applicant with a lot of mistakes all over the resume or bad formatting, it makes it hard to read or anything, it can disqualify you just for the fact the person's tired and they don't want to go through all these and they've already found a lot of people they like. They might just chop you off because they've got the 5 that they're going to actually do the interview. Because when we go and interview people, we usually have a set number that we want to interview. We're not going to say we've got 100 amazing applicants, we're going to interview all those 100. It's not going to happen. So there's just not enough time in the day. So we'll chop it down to a certain amount that we're going to interview. And sometimes we have to be harsh and just say, right, okay, we're really going to cut these people down to get it into there. So it doesn't hurt to really make it clear and just double check and be concise and make everything readable. And think to yourself, would I hire me looking at what I'm seeing here and seeing all these resumes that have come up today? And congrats to everybody who put their resume in. It's very brave to put your resume out there for us to read and critique. Thank you very much for doing that. It's awesome. But seeing what we're saying here, even the small picky points that we're picking out, and a lot of it is really picky that we're getting into, just to give you that next heads up. Just take a moment, look through your resume and just see, have I got those points they've been mentioning, and then make it a little bit tidier.
Yeah, and again, explicitly, thank you all for doing this. It's really not as bad as it seems. Most of these are presentable and okay in their current form. It's like,
Yeah, I thought most of them were pretty good, and there's still a lot more that I want to kind of go through. Hold on, I'm trying to
there
get
is
the entrance into my app thing, but I think maybe sometime in the future we'll go through and hit some of the ones that we didn't get and let people submit some more. If you guys are up for it. And I really like the idea of doing the game pitches too. Just like looking at people's game pitches and critiquing them and telling them how to like improve their pitch,
you could just
what things aren't fair, what's missing,
make sure they all watch the
that
the 30 things I hate about your game pitch.
Yes, everybody should watch that first before they before they get into it.
There's a somewhat related question very early on in the stream. Someone asked about starting a game company and how to get. I think that it was really about how to get the setup and the funding, etc., to create a game studio, a small game studio. It's a much more dense topic, but it's an interesting one for sure.
I don't know anybody who's made a game studio, do you, Dave?
Yeah, me. I've made my own, and I've made several for other
Dave's
people.
like the perfect person for this that question.
So there's obviously business logistics to do with what you're setting up. Whether you take, for instance, America, whether you're setting up a limited corporation, etc. I won't go into those. Just do your research on what you feels best for you, whether you're going to set up an LLC or a corporation. So yeah, you should look into that. But the first thing to ask yourself is why you're setting up a game studio. Do you have a good game that you want to put out there? And do you want to create a game studio based on that? Are you doing it for tax benefits for your release? Do you have to have it for a particular company to release under a publisher, etc.? So there are lots of qualifying questions around that. If you're a group of people that have got together that want to build a game studio and you've got game ideas, the other thing I would say is it costs money once you've established. So once you've established your game studio, you're paying tax in the US particularly every year on that limited company or that corporation. And you might have to pay for an accountant to register and do all those bits, and registered agent fees and websites and all this. Make sure you got a fun game first. That's all I'll say. I've seen a lot of people that register, build game companies, indie studios, etc., and then they go and build their game, and it's like, really? Like, now you've realized the game's not fun and you've all decided to go your separate ways, or several people in the process have gone and got jobs and they've left, and now you don't have that game anymore, and you've just spent, $800 to register your company, several to have a registered agent, then you've got the accountant, maybe you've got a lawyer involved, and the next thing you know, you're a couple of grand in the hole for a game that's not going to happen. So yeah, go and make sure you've got a fun game. And there are contracts you can do between groups of people outside of actually having a registered company to say where the IP lives. And that's something to pay attention to. Lots of people, when they build a game together as a group, they then decide, actually, we're not going to do this anymore, or they have a falling out or something. You want to have something that backs you up to say, okay, where does this live? Can we just never build it anymore? Have we just all wasted time doing this? Can we make it public? Does it have to be private, etc.? So just do a little bit of legwork before you go into, I'm going to build a game studio and I'm going to go ahead and do this. So yeah, I hope that helps.
I think it's a
Lots
lot
to think
like
about.
the asset purchasing. Like it's one of those things that's an easy way to feel like you've made progress without doing any of the hard work, because you're just like paying for things, buying a domain, buying a name, coming up with a company name, and like filling out forms. And it like feels like progress without really pushing for it. Just like buying a bunch of art assets for your game to build. And it's certainly not the most important part. Like I said, make a fun game first, and then worry about it. Unless you're at the point where you're building up and hiring dozens of developers and building a AAA studio, but then you probably shouldn't be asking Dave for how to do that right now.
Personally
You'd
attacking us
have
all.
more experience. I mean, they should have already started a small studio first.
Yeah,
They should already be past that point.
And obviously,
before you go to the
there's hiring laws and all that sort of thing. If you're going to hire people to do things for you, depending on where you are, it depends on what you can do. And also, depending on where you are, if you're already working for a game studio and you're thinking about building a side project with other people and all the rest, NDAs, check if you're under NDA, if you've got non-completes, all the rest of it. Make sure you're not going to screw yourself over by doing something that you can't actually release.
And don't build it on any work stuff or at work or
No.
during work hours.
Yeah.
Completely
Don't use your work laptop
Yeah.
just because it's there.
Yeah, there are too many cases of people that have had to give their game over to their company because they screwed themselves by using all their own computers.
And if you're in a small place, talk it out. If you know the people you're working with at the higher level, just make sure it's all good. There won't be any hostility. I've seen people who take it personally when they don't know somebody's working on like another project on the side, like, oh, he's planning to leave us with this, etc., etc. So don't don't corrupt the water. I don't know how to say this in English.
No,
Yeah, we get you.
Yeah, so just make sure it's all good before you actually do it if you have another job.
and I've never seen it be a problem personally for people that I was working with. They're working on their own projects and nobody cares. I mean, nobody's ever been working on something that was a direct competitor. They're always kind of like working on these different fun little side project ideas that they have.
That can.
But I haven't run into it personally.
I
What about you, Dave?
have. Yeah, that can be different here, especially in California. But in England, I worked at several companies. I wasn't allowed to do any side project work that could be released for payment.
It could just be because where I am, that's I think technically illegal.
Yeah, California, you can't have non-competes, though there are lots of things you have to be aware of. For instance, if you hold shares in that company, it can be different, etc. So
yeah, I was gonna say there are some
consult
areas
a
where
lawyer.
non-competes are enforceable.
Yeah. We are not lawyers. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I want to pop up my giveaway real quick and just start that running so people can see it and see the whoever is going to win whatever end up giving away. Let's see. Let's go to maybe like
By the way, for a fun topic, if you work on a game and you want to mod the game, be very careful about what you mod. Because when I started working in Terraria, I still had a very strong passion for modding Terraria outside of the work hours. And I was like, crap, now I know a lot of things that I should never be able to share because NDA. So what can I actually make? So first world problems, but if you get hired into something you love, be careful about what you do with it outside the work.
Yeah, you'll probably stop loving it after a while. Once you start working on something, it goes from being like your hobby and your love thing slowly over time. I've seen it with every game I worked on. I'm like, I love this game. It's so much fun. Like, it's too easy. Like, as soon as you can just add stuff to the database or change your stuff or you can play through the whole thing, it starts to lose some of the appeal. So just watch out for
as soon as you have
I
to
would-
fix all the bugs to it, you don't want to play it in case you find more bugs on it.
Actually, let's see something interesting. So I've been working on Terraria for almost 8 full years, and I've been a beta tester and a modder before that. And our repo has about 17,000 commits. So I've fixed a lot of bugs, and I've seen a lot of features, and I've seen a lot of features change. But I still like the game enough to do playthroughs regularly. And I would say that it's the opposite problem where there's more content than before that I want to make now than when I was a model, because I know all the systems in and like, oh, I can do this and I can do that and we could do this. It's hell. It's absolute hell that you can't actually work on it with anyone or share it. But hey, it's fun. The better part is if you do want to spend the time, you can actually do this as part of the job. Like, you can mod something nice and present it to the team, and it might actually become part of the game, which is like a dream for some.
So For everybody who's watching and with us live, we've got the giveaway for the rider license running right now. Use the same exact list from yesterday. Linked it down below, so everybody who joined earlier this time or last week or any time in between is already in the giveaway and running right now, battling to see who wins. I'm thinking that in the modified version, I'm not going to let them heal their health all the way after a battle. So I think like when I set it up and refactor it, I'm going to make it so like after at the end of the battle, they heal up like 50% or something, or 50 health. So that way, like
That would,
that'd be more fun.
yeah, but it would give a very big advantage to the person who's like, I guess the advantage already exists for the person who fights last.
As long as they're evenly bracketed, it'll be okay. I'll have to figure that out. So as long as I can make it so that everybody starts off at 100% health against somebody, and they're just kind of going up, and everybody fights the same number of battles. If I can figure that out, I think it would be kind of fun. May add some power ups, random things.
That's you can up the stakes. Yeah, quicker kills. So
Invite
second round, they're stronger.
Invite Salim to do your game design balance.
That's a good idea. I should have Salim do some design work for me.
Yeah,
on the
you
shot.
get cinema scene in here with like the final shots too.
The kill shots.
Yeah, the kill shots.
I really want to swap in some of your art too, Andrew.
Yeah,
I want to put in some Infinity PBR models and do some really cool shit in there. I think it'd be neat.
That'd be cool.
So,
there you go. You wanted a project to work together. We could do that.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, that's a good idea. All right, we'll have to talk more after this and figure something out. Yeah, winner gets random buffs. I like it. Just, you win and you get a buff. Ah, yeah.
They just come out and play rock, paper, scissors instead of battling. Done. That would move quick.
That would be hilarious.
If you want
to be a mode,
if you want to take it to the next level and actually make it like a full game, you can make sure the people who enter their names also pick free skills they'd like to get, and then they get them in that order. And then people make their builds to try and win.
All off the Google
I
form.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun idea. They can just submit their data in the form for their character. Yeah,
They can pick a character. Oh, it's expanding. It's getting big.
Yeah.
Feature creep.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, we got 109 people remaining, so I'm gonna crank up the speed a little bit, let them start catching up. What other questions did you guys want to take? I know there were a bunch of them popping up in chat.
It's one for me. I'm a VR developer and very content with only knowing C# and Unity and want to become a technical VR designer. Do you think it's safe to own? Yes.
Do you want to read that one out loud?
Yeah, sure. I'm a VR developer and very content with only knowing C# and Unity and want to become a technical VR designer. Do you think it's safe to only know Unity and C# for a career in VR? Yes, you can definitely get started with that. There's lots of Unity and C# people in VR building a career right now.
Do you think it's still the majority of VR stuff being done in Unity and C#?
There's definitely enough. Whether it's the majority or not is I still see a ton of people hiring for Unity devs that use C# in VR. I still build all my stuff in Unity with C# in VR.
Okay, and is Unity still getting the kind of like updates the first or fastest like they were before with the VR headsets, or is that kind of evened out now?
Yeah, it's evened out, but it's evened out, but Unity is still getting them. Like I've not come across a headset that I can't get on really quickly with Unity. So yeah, I've not found a problem yet, and you know how many headsets and projects I have going in VR. So
very good point. Okay, let's see. Any other questions we got here?
I'm not finding anything that particularly expandable to talk about.
Resume or job stuff.
I'm just looking for question marks now, scrolling up.
Here's the HR looking for question mark.
What kind of projects recruit? Oh, okay. Let's just go up the list. So, what kind of projects recruiters expect from the candidates who are like fresh? So, I assume this. If you're a new candidate, no experience, what kind of stuff do you expect to see on your project section or your portfolio section? For me, like I personally would like to see maybe a WebGL game or a mobile game that you've built. Some simple project. Doesn't have to be super crazy, but has to work, not crash, make sense, and actually be like a playable game. That's a huge bonus for me. What about you guys? What do you want to see like on the project section? Are you okay with like just a list of projects with descriptions with no images and video or stuff, or do you always kind of want to see that too?
It depends what I'm hiring for. If you're hiring a straight up coder, then having stuff that I can look at and that they talk about, that bringing somebody on that can literally talk about what they're going to work on, and they can explain that in their resume. And even if they have a portfolio piece, let's say they have a GitHub that's public with some exposed code, and they have a README that tells me a little bit more about the project, that's fine. It's not a problem. You don't have to go out and buy all these expensive, gorgeous assets unless they're Andrews. You definitely have to buy those to build a project and then show me. I don't need that. I just need to know you can do the job you're going to get hired to come in and do. Obviously, if you're coming in for an artist position, I want to see good art that's indicative of the game you're going to work on. It doesn't have to be the same genre, but if I'm going to hire a 3D artist to work on a game and your portfolio is all 2D, my first question is, can you do 3D? And have you got anything that can show me that? Because if you can't, I'm probably going to dump you for another candidate that has a lot of that right there that I can see straight away. So those sort of things. As far as projects are concerned, they don't have to be fully featured games. You don't have to spend years building a game to then go and get a game job. Look at the stuff that comes out of game jams. Even the ones that win game jams that get lots of popularity amongst the community. A lot of those aren't fully featured games. They don't have the most gorgeous menus or anything like that, but they have something working. And that's what we want to see. Something that works. And you don't have to come up with a novel idea. You can take ideas that are already out there and modify them slightly, or just say, oh, I really like this, so I recreated it myself, and here it is on my itch.io page. That shows us you can do the job, that you've gone out there. It doesn't have to be a fully released game on Steam or anything like that, but sometimes if we're looking for a medium, higher level position, we will ask that you've had release titles, because that release cycle and then following up on that release cycle is a skill in itself. So that's relevant for brand new people. You don't have to have fully released titles on Steam. That's just not practical. So stuff we can look at, stuff that we can play preferably, but if not, stuff we can actually dig into. You've got to have that portfolio there.
I think your point about copying games is a good one too. Just instead of trying to come up with and create your own fun, interesting thing, take the fun, interesting thing that you can recreate, add a little artistic twist or spin, or just change the graphics, or even leave them the same and just say, hey, I wanted to see if I could make a 1-for-1 recreation of this game. I went through the process and I did it, like matching the spec exactly or as close as possible. That's valuable, and showing that you finished that whole process. Like you said, even if it's not a full Steam game, finishing the process of developing, publishing, and sharing and hosting your WebGL game, it's more than not doing that. Quite a bit more.
And if you want a really good... Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, if people don't know about it, itch.io is a great place to host your games and get feedback from community, etc. So go check it out if you don't know what itch.io is. Sorry, here we go.
I just wanted to say that... crap, now I forgot what I wanted to say fully.
All good. Here, let's hit a Groovy Tank Bane 420's question. He wants to know if smoking disqualifies people. And I'm sure it probably varies where you are. In California, I'm going to say probably not. I've never seen anybody... Yeah, it's probably not. I wouldn't bring it up in the interview or ask them in the interview or anything, but I also wouldn't worry about necessarily getting tested or anything like that. It's a video. A lot of the creative industries, you're probably not going to run into too many issues there in places where it's not illegal.
To me, it's like, if you bring it up at all, I'd say, why are you bringing this up? Like, I don't care what you do on your own time, but are you saying that you're going to be taking smoke breaks and just you're going to be high while working? And I worked with somebody who, like, she was over in Europe, but when she came out for a team thing, like, literally she was taking smoke breaks to get high to make it through the day. And maybe she's got some health issues that it helps with, but it was clear that 1 out of every 3 4 hours she'd be gone, and then she'd come back and she'd be very relaxed, and she eventually got fired. So I don't know. I don't know if that's
I'd say I've never seen anybody get fired, and I've worked with a lot of developers, so I'd say not usually an issue. But if you pop that up in the interview, it'd be like asking, "Hey, can we drink? Can we drink alcohol?" Like you're here for a game thing. What the hell are you? Yeah, I would say don't bring those things up.
Yeah,
But
everything's
yeah,
going
you're
to
not
be.
likely to get tested in the game industry,
No,
unlike a lot
I've
of
not
other
seen
places.
that. I mean, everything's going to be an opinion on what we say on this, but like, if something doesn't hinder you, I don't really care. If it's not hindering you doing your job, think of it like alcohol. If you're coming in wasted every day and you can't do your job, you can't do your job.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll probably be okay. Just don't talk about it.
So I remember what I wanted to say earlier when we talked about replicating other games' features. Just look at Mix and Jam if you need any example of this going, because they have a channel on YouTube who replicating all the big games' best mechanics, and Unity themselves wanted him to start making content for them because he was able to do so. He's presented a good resume-esque feature set that people would actively want.
So we got a question for you, Yorai, and a congrats. So Bubbles wanted to say congrats. If not mistaken, Terraria is the best rated Steam game of all time. Which
Nice.
is congrats, man. That's fucking awesome. And he says, Yorai, what's the size of your team, and were you heavily involved in the design?
So, first off, thank you. Secondly, the size of the team changed recently, but right now we have 2 active artists and 2 active programmers and 1 active QA/balance helper. There is a lot of involvement from the entire company. We are 15 total right now, and everybody contributes in like one channel. We talk about the bigger things, making sure all the bases are covered to have things to a point everyone is happy. We don't want anyone to like dislike an idea. We talk it out, make sure it's the best of worlds, so on and so on. Regarding being involved heavily in the design, since I've joined, yes. I joined in 2014. Terraria came out in 2011, so it's been a 3-year gap. But since then, I've been helping with features and suggesting things and handling the implementation for some things and driving it forward. So there are whole systems that they were like based on what I designed and what I put in.
Well, congrats,
Cool.
man.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure this rating only works if you're looking at Steam 250, which is a specific site, and it has like categories. They all rate things differently because it's actually a big topic on the Steam store. You can sort by highest rated, but there will be games with like less than 100 reviews. They're just all positive 100%.
100%.
Yeah. So we're past the 500,000, I recall. Let's see. Terraria store page. We are at, oh god, the sound. 689,000 reviews. 689.
That's fucking insane, man.
Yeah, 98% positive, and hopefully it stays up. It's really useful to see the reviews a lot. Like I would take breaks and just watch the reviews a lot to see specifically negative. Did anything change? Did anything break? Do we need to address anything in a hotfix really quick, etc., etc. And it's been really helpful to have the review system on Steam. Not having to dig through the Steam discussions. We do that, but it's easier to see when someone got upset as soon as you see that. Also, gaming reviews are important. If you like a game, if you dislike a game, if you want to tell others about a game, do use the reviews on Steam.
Go give Terraria some more reviews. Jeez, I'm just blown away by those numbers. You got more reviews than I think I've had players in my games. Fucking insane.
I
So
hope
there
they're all
were
having fun.
yeah. There were a couple other questions, but I think we're starting to run out of time, and I wanted to get through the winners and not keep everybody around for too long. Maybe next week we'll just go through and take a bunch of questions. Was there any last question that you guys wanted to pop up or anything, though? I want to make sure there's not something you guys are holding out for and wanted to see before.
Somebody asked earlier. There was a question about how important are internships, and I was wondering about what your opinions on that are.
Internships. They can be handy. So I've known a few developers who were hired off of internships when I was at Sony. We would regularly, through the schools, bring in interns. And the ones who, from what I could tell, I mean, I didn't make all the decisions then, but from what I could tell, the ones who were actively, like, really engaged and heavily into it, almost all ended up becoming full-time employees. And the other people left because they were just doing it to finish their school. They weren't really interested in working there. But there were quite a few people who were actually really interested in working at Sony, really liked the games, and were really thrilled to be there. And then instantly transitioned from, or not instantly, but like as soon as their internships finished, they transitioned into full-time positions. So I've seen that a lot. I don't know, and I know my buddy Chris, he brings in lots of interns for development stuff and hires them, and he's had great experience with it too, and also just for helping them get other jobs too. And I guess with his, though, a lot of time they'll go somewhere else, get another job, and then wish they'd come to work with him because his environment's really, really, really cool. I would love to show it to people and share it sometime because it's I've been there multiple times just for fun, working for free because it was so cool. So what about you guys? Internships, David? You do any of those, or work with a lot of interns?
Funnily enough, I worked at Sony as well, and yeah, same thing. we've done the same thing with interns, and the companies I worked at before that had interns. It can't hurt you. You know, you get exposure to the games industry. You get in there and enjoy it. Yeah, what's the harm?
Yeah, I said don't expect it to be a great, well-paying thing.
No,
Or like
you won't.
a lot of the time they were unpaid. I think a lot of the time now they end up being paid, which is fine. But the part of the thing is, like, you remember the interns for the first couple months are just costing the company. They're almost never providing actual value unless you've got them off doing like the really menial stuff that you don't have to train them for. You're spending those 3 months or whatever, kind of getting them up to speed to do the tasks. And probably to do the more menial, boring stuff at first. But you want to kind of get in there, take advantage of that internship, do all of those things, and then take the extra time to expand and get into as many parts of the company and the things that you're interested in as possible.
Yeah,
Right? Like, don't just do the things that you got assigned. Say, hey, what else can I do? I'm done with those. What other cool things can I do? What can you show me and teach me around here?
Internship programs in different companies will be different too. The company I work with right now, the internship program, they get top talent from graduate schools. Oftentimes they're hired and they do 3 months focused on a very specific project that's impactful for the company. And it's like you are dedicated, and it's like you want that internship because it's going to look great on your resume if you don't get hired, and you probably will get hired. But others might be menial tasks, and they're,
Yeah, it depends a lot on the size of the company and how much of the interning they do, from what I've seen. Like places like Sony, where it was a regular process, it's lots of people coming in and getting hired. And then I've seen other places where it's just kind of like a side thing that they do every now and then, where it's not a regular thing, and it's a lot less regimented, like you said, Andrew. That sounds really good, though, the one that you guys have got set up there. Yeah. Actually going through a process, having a plan and a project and stuff. All right, so the battle's paused. I'm gonna resume it, but I want to make it big for the last couple people. So we got 10 people left. I shrunk the window size. Let's drag that out. We'll make them nice and big, and we'll let the last 10 people fight while we go through. I don't know. I think we're kind of out of questions. Just chat about.
This is where we make bets.
Just something I want. Oh, yeah. We still have some time for the betting, though. Stopping it at one.
I'm giving it to null script. Null script's going to be the winner. We'll see. Also, don't forget, if you're still here, check out the links down below. Go sign up for next week's giveaway. I'm going to use the same writer giveaway entry. You can sign up and win a year subscription of my favorite, and I think everybody here's favorite code editor. And you can check out my Black Friday deal still active down below, and there are a bunch of links for other things like Dave's new tutorial that he just released over there somewhere. So go check that out as well. All right, how many
No
fighters
scripters
we got
lost
left?
completely.
I just want to say about the internships too. I am under the impression, not in any official capacity, but internships should be the best entry point you have to gain time to talk to the top talent, see what you can do to become like them. And if they have a mentionable name, that's actually really good for you in the resume. Possibly. Uh, do try and be careful about which internships you pick, because don't do one at any cost. They should come with intent that you get hired in the end of the process, which means make the best of your time there and make sure it's somewhere where you want to end up if you do take up an internship. I wouldn't say they're extremely important on a resume. It's like, it's good. Getting the job would be better, but I wouldn't fault not having one, even if you
Who's
didn't
the
have a job
winner
as well.
here? Oh, this
Elegant's
is
going
so
to
close.
win. Oh,
Oh, and
always wins.
Avery knock shot. All right, Avery, I will send you an email. And if you won before and I haven't got a hold of you, please email me. I want to make sure that everybody got their codes. I think I sent them out, but it's possible that I missed them. So I want to make sure that everybody's got their writer codes. So yeah, I'll send you that one after the show later on today. Congrats again. It's a full year writer license. And on the internship, I thought I had a thought on internships, but I've lost it. So I'll shut up now. I guess everybody just like, subscribe, share if you're interested in this. Make sure that you let us know in the comments. And if you have requests for things that you want to see us cover in future episodes, please drop a comment down below. I know I'd still really like to do one on just game pitches. Maybe next week to put out a request, take game pitches, and then for Christmas, tear apart everybody's game pitch. Give everybody a week to prepare them. So if you got a game pitch in mind, start and you want to prepare it and get a little bit of feedback. And don't do it if you're not already thinking about it. But if you actually want to get some feedback on it, start preparing that, and either next week or the week after that.
Just be careful if you're really serious about those pitches, because if you're giving it to us, it's like everybody's going to see it, and if you're actually trying
it's going to be, it'll be public, but I mean, I think if you want to just honestly get a bunch of feedback from a bunch of people in public, you'll get feedback from people in chat as well, and you can join Discord, I'm sure, and chat with them even more afterwards.
And
and
I just want to say, watch the video about the things I hate about your game pitch, because it's a really important video to see before you even send anything.
Yeah, that was definitely a great video. Sorry, my whole screen just went black for a second. That was weird. Anyway, congrats again, Avery. Thanks again, everybody, for coming out and watching. Any last words, guys?
No.
I hope
Andrew,
you all
are you
have
streaming again today?
I actually have some.
Might later, but I'm not sure.
Here's something I can say. Happy Hanukkah.
Yes.
It's the last day, so.
fun.
And here's the link for the video I keep talking about. 1 sec.
I think I posted it. If it's a GDC one, or I put it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just
Yeah.
dropped
It's
it in
posted.
chat.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna
Jinxed.
put it in the description as well, so everybody can go check that out. Let's look that. Okay. Well, again, thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the stream, and all that stuff. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you again next week.
Yeah.
See ya.
ya.
Watch, I'm gonna make everybody disappear one at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I won.